Chapter 1. Walking down a dirt road leading out of the village hidden in the leaves, or Kanahagakure, surrounded by the massive trees that help hide one of the 5 great hidden villages, we find our hero Naruto Uzumaki. He is a spiky blonde-haired boy with 3 whisker marks on each cheek, bronze-tan skin, cerulean eyes, and is wearing an orange jumpsuit with a white collar, navy blue going along the shoulders and upper back, a red swirl circle in between his shoulder blades, a kunai holster on his right thigh, a beige weapons pouch on his right butt cheek, a forehead protector with a leaf symbol, which denotes his affiliation with Kanahagakure, and black shinobi sandals. He's walking slightly behind his sensei, one of the 3 legendary Sannin Jiraiya, starting on his 2.5-year training trip. Jiraiya is a tall and well-built man in adulthood with fair skin. He has a wart on the left side of his nose and waist length, spiky white hair tied back into a ponytail, with 2 shoulder-length bangs framing his face. There are red lines under his eyes which extend further down his face all the way to the bottom. His attire consists of a green short shirt kimono and matching pants, under which he wears mesh armor that is visible at his wrists and ankles. He also wears handguards, a black belt, traditional Japanese wooden sandals, and a red haori with 2 yellow circles on each side. He's carrying a large scroll on his back and has a tattoo on his left palm, and wears a horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil, which denotes his affiliation with Mount Myaboku. This normally hyperactive 13-year-old shinobi is lost in thought, wondering how he'll get strong enough to bring back his friend Sasuke for the girl he loves, Sakura, all in the premise of keeping his promise of a lifetime to her. Sure, he has his own reasons for wanting to save Sasuke from becoming Orochimaru's next vessel. After all, he is the closest thing to a brother he's ever had, and that's not a bond he wants to lose. But even after fighting him with everything he had and more, with the help of the 9-tailed fox boosting his power exponentially, he still lost to Sasuke's superior powers and techniques. Not to say he wasn't as fast or strong as Sasuke, but he had more jutsu, superior skills with kunai and shuriken, and stronger taijutsu than he has. So he figured that meant he'd be working on all of those areas of a shinobi's skills, and was now getting excited to get started. So asked Jiraiya, "Hey pervy sage, what awesome jutsu am I going to learn first?" Jiraiya responds with a little irritation at being referred to as pervy sage. "You won't be learning any new jutsu yet. We need to focus on bringing up your basic skills first. Then, and only then, can I start on actually teaching you jutsu." A despondent Naruto whines, "Oh, come on, that's boring. I can't waste time on that weak crap. I need more jutsu and work on bettering my taijutsu." Jiraiya snaps back, "You can't learn any of those without a better base of skills to build off of." Naruto says, "What do you mean by that, pervy sage? Why can't you just teach me super cool badass jutsu?" Jiraiya, with a breath of frustration at Naruto's ignorance, answers, "Because without a strong enough base your body wouldn't be able to handle it. Think of trying to build a house on 2x4s held between 2 boulders. They'd snap at the weight of the building being built on top of them." Naruto responds with face and tone of understanding, and maybe a little fear, "Oh, so my body might break apart trying?" Then with confidence and strength says, "I can take any pain or hardships if means I can save Sasuke." Jiraiya, with a rare moment of seriousness, says, "It takes more than a strong will and nerves of steel to master the art of the shinobi. The damage, the backlash of a powerful jutsu won't just hurt, it can and will kill you. Then you won't be saving anyone from your very painful and horrid end." Naruto, with an even rarer moment of understanding, shakily says, "Okay, but how long will that take? Because I can't afford to spend all of my time just building up my basic skills while Sasuke gets stronger and stronger." Jiraiya answers, "Hopefully within 1 year, but that will depend entirely on you and how hard you work." Naruto and Jiraiya, after having stopped walking, now facing each other, are quiet for a minute before Naruto, with his classic fox-like grin, says, "Then I'll have it down in half that time, because I'll work till I drop every day. That way we'll have more time to learn some badass jutsus. Believe it." In response to this, Jiraiya's face slowly turns into a grin, then into full-blown laughter. "Ahahaha, I should have known I couldn't keep you down for long. Maybe with that attitude you'll get the basics down in 3 months. Naruto asks hopefully, do you really think so? Jiraiya responds, who knows? Miracles do happen. Ah. With a firm pout on his face, yet still with a hint of determination, Naruto yells back, just watch me, pervy sage. I'll do it and wipe that stupid look off your face. Believe it. Jiraiya's laughter lightens down to a small chuckle replies, well then, you got 3 months to do it, and if you do I'll teach you whatever jutsu you want, but if you can't, then you'll train in whatever way I say without complaints, deal? Naruto answers without hesitation, sure, it's a deal. I'll win too because I don't give up and I'll never go back on my word. Believe it. Jiraiya, offering his hand, says, it's a deal then. Naruto takes his hand and shakes it while responding, deal. As they separate and head on their way, Jiraiya believes he just pulled one over on Naruto, but fails to realize that Naruto's luck always finds a way to bring him a win on any bet. Just ask his fat Gamachan and Tsunade about it. 2 weeks later, we find Naruto despondently eating a full course of the accursed green, his least favorite color, that goes by the name of vegetables. He's inside a local restaurant a few towns over from Konoha, having to eat them all because of his old perv of a sensei is making him. Ever since they made their bet, pervy sage has been drilling the basics into him like a demon, or a perverted demon with an agenda to peek on the nearest women's bathhouse. So Jiraiya relentlessly beats Naruto into the ground every day, so he can run off for his research as quickly as possible. That's not to say his training is ineffective or weak. On the contrary, it's doing wonders to increasing Naruto's strength, from chakra control, repelling genjutsu, kunai and shuriken skills to his taijutsu. The real problem lies in the fact that Jiraiya tricked him into agreeing to eat vegetables every time he fails to score a point on him in their spars. That old perv is as tough as they come. Not only has he failed to touch him even once, every hit Jiraiya makes tends to leave bruises down to his bones. Sure, it's not as bad as getting hit by Bachan, but still it hurts like hell. The veggies after are the worst kind of treatment after his training. He should have known that perv offering to teach him a jutsu early if can hit him in a spar was a setup. But come on, how could he pass up a chance to learn a jutsu? What an idoid he is now, stuck eating his least favorite color food. On top of all of that, his progress to finishing his basic training wasn't even close to reaching the 3-month goal. At this rate he'll finish maybe in a year or two. Damn it all to hell. So in a poor attempt to spy on the pervy sage to possibly learn something really cool, he sends a shadow clone to follow him after every training session, only to end in failure every single time. The bright side is it takes a little longer for pervy sage to lose his clone every time he goes off somewhere. How does Naruto know this? That's simple. When his clone loses the perv, he comes back and reports to the original that's stuck eating vegetables. This time is different though, because mid-bite of the accursed green, Naruto get a flash of memories from his clone following the perv and catching him neck deep in women, sake, and money. Damn it. He should have known that's all he'd find when looking for that old pervert. Wait a minute. How did he know all that? A look of pure confusion came across the blonde's whiskered face. His face scrunched up, lost in deep thought, wondering how he had the memories of his clone. Steam soon came off of his head, leading him to face plant on top of his food with swirls in his eyes. It seemed too much thought in one moment lead to his mind overheating, go figure. Later that evening, with the sun just starting to pass over the horizon, Naruto finds himself being carried by a mess of white hair, stinking of sake and shame, to their hotel. Apparently, Jiraiya noticed Naruto's clone bursting as it charged the old perv, trying to hit him for wasting his time following him. Who knew he could be so observant with a pair of breasts in his face? What Naruto didn't know was that those brothels Jiraiya visits all the time are a large source of his extensive spy network. After all, who would think such a lecherous man in the middle of such debauchery would be gaining vital information? Then again, most men tend to be loose-tongued around beautiful women that are getting them drunk and lost in pleasure, thus making them the perfect eyes and ears for his spy network, plus the added benefit of getting to spend time with beautiful women. Jiraiya is forced to leave his fun/work early to go find the little idiot, knowing he'd have questions over getting memories of his clone. He didn't expect to find a passed-out Naruto at table with steam coming off his head and swirls for eyes. Sighing, the perv pays for the kid's food and lifts Naruto onto his back and heads back to their hotel room. On their way to the hotel, Naruto starts screaming at the perv for what his clone saw. "What the hell, pervy sage? While I'm stuck eating crap and finishing my training, you're getting your perv on with a bunch of ladies." Interrupting himself, "Wait a minute, how do I even know that?" Jiraiya responds, "What, you seriously didn't know about the memory transferability of the shadow clone jutsu? I mean, that's what it was created for, to spy or infiltrate dangerous areas without having to risk your life. How could you not notice that aspect of shadow clone jutsu with how often you use it, idiot?" Naruto, looking rather bashful, says, "Well, nobody ever told me that, and I'm a little busy trying to kick ass or not die to notice my clone's memories in battle." Jiraiya responds with a sigh, "Kami kid, how have you made it this far as a shinobi being that dense?" With anger and a blush on his face yells, "Hey, don't call me an idiot, you old pervert of a sage. How have you not been killed by some random bimbo with how perverted you are?" Jiraiya raising his own voice while tossing Naruto off his back. "Because unlike you, I am an experienced shinobi who can come off as an idiotic, lecherous fool while being aware of everything going around me. You're 100 years too young to judge me, brat." After recovering from being dropped on his butt, Naruto replies, "Yeah, right, you perv. You're just covering your butt for being caught red-handed in your perverted ways." Jiraiya responds, "Whatever, Gaki. It still doesn't take away from your own stupidity for not knowing how your own jutsu works. And take it from me, that has been the end of many a shinobi. So from now on, you're not to use any jutsu in the future without knowing everything it does. Is that clear?" Seeing the serious face of Jiraiya, Naruto just nods his head yes. Jiraiya continues, "Good. Now that you know all about the shadow clone jutsu, let's head back to our room and get some sleep. First thing in the morning, we continue your training." As Jiraiya turns to head to the hotel, Naruto asks, "Wait, can't I use clones to speed up my training?" Jiraiya answers, "No. Any physical training won't help with clones, because only mental information goes back to the creator." Naruto replies, "Okay, but what about training that only takes getting a feel for something, like breaking genjutsu and chakra control?" Jiraiya stops and puts his hand to his chin to think for a minute, then responds, "Yeah, maybe. I never really thought about it that way before. Usually I only use a clone for training when practicing dangerous and life-threatening jutsu. Maybe using clones will increase your experience with certain jutsu and practices, but things like increasing your speed, power, and stamina can't be helped other than being done by you directly. It's an original idea for sure, but then again you are known for doing things outside the box. Yeah. I mean, think of it. With 2 clones working on the same jutsu, it'd cut the time to learn it in half. 3 clones a third as long. 4 clones a fourth, and so on and so forth. In theory, you could gain years of experience in a week." At this point, Jiraiya has a huge grin on his face, which only drops when Naruto says, "Yeah, with the number of clones I can make, I'll win that bet for sure." Ah! The horror of that truth sends Jiraiya into a depression. Damn my loud mouth. Now he's going to demand an endless number of jutsus for me to teach him. I'm going to lose out on so much peaking. Research for my books. Jiraiya thought with never-ending horror written across his face, followed by a river of anime tears. All the while Naruto is practically skipping with joy to the hotel with a foxy grin on his face and his arms behind his head. He's daydreaming of all the jutsus he'll soon be learning from Pervy Sage. A month and 2 weeks later, an exhausted Naruto lays spread out in open field breathing hard, trying to catch his breath. Yet he has a large smile plastered across his face because he just finished all the basic training needed for him to win his bet with Pervy Sage. Just in time too. The shadow clone method of training that he and Jiraiya came up with was a lifesaver for sure. Without it, he would have ended up spending most of his 2.5 years just working on increasing his basic abilities. Maybe with enough spare time learn one new jutsu. How lame would that be? The only downside to this training showed itself on the first day. After making 1,000 clones and dividing them up to work on everything, from breaking genjutsu exercises, chakra control, kunai and shuriken practice, and going over his existing jutsu to perfect them, while he focused on body conditioning and sparring with Puri Sage. He even got the perv to make him leg weights like Lee's, but with seals to slowly increase the weight, starting at a more bearable weight, then working up to what Lee's were at during the Chunin exams. After dispelling all of his clones that day, he blacked out from the accumulated fatigue from the 1,000 clones. He woke up midday 2 days later. Jiraiya tried to talk him out of using the clones, saying it was too dangerous and that they just barely dodged a kunai this time. Naruto refused, saying that he was only saying that to win the bet. Plus, when he showed Pervy Sage the results the training method produced after a single use almost convinced him. Naruto could now break mid-level genjutsu, his chakra control is twice what it was, his aim with kunai and shuriken is vastly improved, and could now perform all of his jutsus in nearly half the time from before. So the Pervy Sage came to a compromise by having Naruto use only 500 shadow clones a day until he could better handle the strain. Naruto would still pass out after dispelling the clones, but would wake up in a few hours instead of a few days. Eventually, he got back up to 1,000 clones. Thanks to this training method, he was able to win his bet with Jiraiya and now could learn any jutsu he wanted from the perv. After all, his chakra control was almost perfect. He could break most genjutsu with the exception of master genjutsu users, of course. His use of kunai and shuriken are perfect to the point that only someone like Tenten or someone with Sharingan could do better, and now he can do the Rasengan one-handed without the help of a shadow clone. On top of all of that, his body conditioning made him twice as strong, gave him larger amounts of stamina, and his speed is at Lee's level without his weights. He has now increased his leg weights and will keep going for as long as he possibly can. Now he is able to land a few points on Jiraiya in their sparring sessions too. With all of those results, Jiraiya had no other choice but to admit that Naruto had won their bet. With a little resignation and pride in his voice, Jiraiya says, "Congratulations Gaki, you won the bet. Even though it could be considered cheating using all of those clones to speed up your training. But then again, so can natural talent and the Sharingan, so whatever." Secretly, Jiraiya knew that only Naruto with his massive amounts of chakra and stamina could use this method without killing himself. So it was very impressive all the same. Naruto, slightly perturbed and smug, replies, "Yeah, I know I'm awesome. And you're just upset you lost our bet and now have to pay up," saying all of this while still unable to get up off the ground, but still with a big grin on his face. Jiraiya responds, "Yeah, while your accomplishments are impressive, you're still years away from besting me. Besides, we should at least wait to teach you all of those jutsu until you can stand Gaki." Naruto replies with a deadpan face, "You're just saying that so you can go peeking on naked women, Pervy Sage. Though you still have a point in the fact that I'm still too tired to learn a jutsu right now. But I'll be ready to go in a few hours, so don't get your hopes up." Jiraiya sags a little bit, but snaps right back up to say, "All right, we'll start up again in 4 hours, so go eat something with at least one vegetable in it, then shower and change your clothes in that time." Naruto replies, "Sure thing, Pervy Sage," hopping off the ground and sprinting away, the thrill of learning a new jutsu overriding his exhaustion. Jiraiya can only sigh with a grin at Naruto's rambunctious energy as he begins his thoughts. Maybe it's time to try and loosen the seal of the nine-tailed fox. With the speed of Naruto's progress, he should be ready to handle more of the fox's chakra, even though this is a little earlier than I expected. I know Naruto is going to be upset that I won't be teaching him a jutsu, but I should be able to deflect that by telling him that having more access to the fox's chakra will enable him to do even more powerful jutsu, and will work on that once he gets control of the Nine-Tails power. Jiraiya then begins the preparations needed to loosen the seal, so as to ensure the fox doesn't escape during the process, and wondering if he should loosen it a little bit more than planned. After all, Naruto's a lot stronger than he anticipated him to be at this stage of his training. What's the worst that can happen? He'll be there to tighten it back up if he needs to. Naruto is heading to the training site they've been using these past few weeks to meet up with Jiraiya, all in the effort to collect on his winnings by learning a new jutsu. The training grounds are mostly an open field with a river running through it and some large rocks spread about, with the whole area being surrounded by large trees, making it an ideal place to let loose some real badass jutsu. It's been 4 hours after having won the bet. Now he's finally going to learn something totally awesome. like an elemental jutsu that can vaporize a field in a single shot, or that neat hair mane lion something he's seen Pervy Sage use. Man, he can't wait, so he starts running full blast towards the training grounds. Once Naruto arrives at the training ground, with a trail of dust following behind him, he notices a toad with a really long scroll-like body standing next to Jiraiya. He wonders if he's going to learning some kind of summoning collaboration jutsu like what Jiraiya does with the chief toad. So he asks, "Hey Pervy Sage, who's the scroll toad and what's he doing here?" The toad answers before Jiraiya can. "My name is Geratora and I expect you to show me some respect. This scroll happens to be the key to your seal, given to me by the fourth Hokage himself, Brat." Somewhat bashfully, Naruto responds, "Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but I didn't know that. Besides, how is it disrespectful to just ask someone their name?" That last part being said with anger. Geratora answers, "Because you were asking Jiraiya and ignoring me while also insulting my looks, Brat." Naruto fires back, "Who knew toads were so touchy? And besides, I wasn't insulting the way you look. I was just calling it as I saw it, and by the way, you actually kind of look cool. I was hoping that I'd be learning some kind of cool collaboration jutsu." Geratora responds with a blush, "Oh, thanks I guess. Unfortunately, you won't be learning any jutsu from me. I'm not suited for combat. Like I said, I hold the key to the nine-tailed fox's seal." Naruto simply replies, "Oh no biggie. But why are you here then if you're not going to teach me a jutsu? And what does it have to do with the fox?" At this point, Jiraiya takes charge of the conversation. What he's here for is to loosen the nine-tails seal, so you can have access to more of the fox's chakra. Now, before you get your panties in a bunch about not learning a jutsu, put in mind that with access to more of the fox's chakra, not only will it increase all of your abilities from strength to speed, but it will also give you access to more chakra, which means you'll be able to learn more powerful jutsu than otherwise without. Plus, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to learn to control the nine-tails power sooner or later. The truth of the matter is that the seal gets weaker with every passing year. Eventually, it will fail entirely, and if you're not ready, the fox will escape, killing you in the process. At this point, Naruto's sweating with fear and loudly gulps, leaving him with the only option but to nod his head in understanding. Jiraiya didn't like being so blunt about Naruto's predicament, but he knows anything less than the brutal truth could lead to huge argument with Naruto over the bet. "Kami, why did I ever agree to take any bet with Naruto of all people?" he thought.
Damn, I'm stupid. Kropka.
Unknown to everyone, this event will lead to both Jiraiya's and Naruto's life, along with the entire world of the shinobi, to change forever. As Jiraiya uses the key on the seal on Naruto's stomach, Naruto begins to feel a sudden surge of power flooding through his body, changing his appearance. His finger and toenails became elongated, along with his canines. His whisker marks became more prominent, his hair more wild and untamed. Naruto felt like things were going to get rough, making him glad he left his headband given to him by Irika-sensei and the necklace by Tsunade-bichan back in his room. He would never be able to replace such precious items. After all, they were given to him by the few precious people he has in his life. At this point, Jiraiya backs off, having loosened the seal by nearly half, and looks to see Naruto being shrouded in red bubbling chakra filled with pure hatred and malice. But Naruto still seemed to be in control of himself, taking the shape of a fox with two tails. It wasn't until the appearance of the third tail that things started to get really going. Naruto, with his eyes completely red and hunch over on all fours howling in rage, causing a shock wave that forced Jiraiya to jump back, started to talk in a deep growling voice. "Man, I feel really strong, but the rage swirling inside is making it hard think." Jiraiya responds with a little relief. "Whoa now Gaki, you had me worried there for a moment. Now I need you to focus on maintaining that power, no more, no less. Got that, Naruto?" With struggled restraint he replies, "And no problem Pervy Sagi, I got this. Believe it." Jiraiya responds with a little trepidation. "Alright Gaki, let's see what you can do in that form." With that said, Jiraiya launches at Naruto with a fully powered Rasengan in his hand. His attack slams into one of Naruto's tails, pushing him back and dispelling the Rasengan in a single swipe. Jiraiya lands several feet back with him, leaving trench marks in his wake. Before he has time to react, Naruto is in his face, sending an uppercut to his chin. The sage is sent flying through the air so fast all that he can hear is the sharp whistling of wind in his ears. Before Naruto can jump into the air to finish the fight, he finds himself bound by white hair in the shape of a lion coming out of the ground. Seeing nothing but a smashed log in the air, Naruto is pulled underground by the sea of white. Jiraiya smashes out of the ground with his hair receding back to its normal length, though somewhat sizzling at the ends, and unleashes a powerful stream of fire mixed with oil into the hole he made, leaving Naruto trapped underground. As the ground begins to melt and crack under the sage's onslaught, the ground underneath Jiraiya has a red chakra hand burst out and grab him, forcing him end his jutsu. With a rumble and a roar, Naruto causes the ground to explode out from around him, revealing himself to be completely unharmed. Jiraiya would be impressed if it wasn't for the fact that the hand holding him was growing tighter by the second and the feel of his skin starting to burn from the contact of the Nine Tails chakra. Before he can figure out how to escape Naruto's grasp, Naruto pulls Jiraiya towards him and slugs him right in the face, sending the sage flying into nearby boulders, tossing up a cloud of dirt obscuring Jiraiya. Earth-style, dark swamp, Jiraiya yells, casting a jutsu that causes a deep sticky mud swamp to trap and sink Naruto inside it. While Naruto struggles as he sinks into the swamp, Jiraiya comes walking out of the dust cloud, whipping the blood from his mouth, saying, "All right, Naruto, let's call it a day before someone gets really hurt. I'll release you from my jutsu and you can stop using the Nine Tails power." Instead of a response, all Jiraiya gets is an explosion of mud, chakra, and a massive roar of rage, causing him to go on guard, and for good reason. At the center of the swirling black and red chakra is Naruto, screaming in hellish pain as his skin peels off, mixing his blood with the fox's chakra, until it completely surrounds him in a dome of black energy shooting into the sky, blowing back the nearby trees and causing all manner of animals to flee in the opposite direction as fast as possible. This dense and foul chakra brings a shiver of fear to creep up Jiraiya's spine. It's been a very long time since Jiraiya last felt such a sensation, leaving him very worried, but not for himself, but for Naruto. He needs to reel in the Nine Tails power before it's too late. As the black dome recedes, Jiraiya sees a black miniaturized nine-tailed fox, just with only 4 tails, and pure white eyes looking at him, bringing back that sensation tenfold. Before Jiraiya can even think about what to do next, the black fox just appears out of nowhere, getting completely past his guard, slashes at him with his claws, cutting open his chest, spewing blood all over both him and the fox. The only bright side Jiraiya can take from this development is that the attack sent him flying backwards, away from Naruto, or at least what used to be Naruto. Staggering to his feet, holding the gaping wound across his chest, feeling the blood practically flood through his fingers, he gasps, not out of pain, but shock, as 2 more tails start forming from the fox's rear, making a total of 6. Realizing that he's got no other option, Jiraiya's hands blur through a set of hand signs. Slamming his blood-covered hand to the ground, yells out, "Summoning Jutsu!" Small black symbols spread out form under his hand, causing an explosion, covering the area in white smoke to reveal a massive purple toad with black markings surrounding his eyes, connecting to his eyebrows, and running down his chin, connecting under his mouth. He's wearing a classic black shinobi top with a huge shield strapped to his back and a Susumida in his right hand. Jiraiya commands, "Gamaken, hold Naruto off long enough for me to summon them and enter Sage mode. It's the only way I can think of sealing up the fox's power in my current condition." Gamaken replies in a deep voice, "I shall try, for I am ungraceful." Then Jiraiya draws blood down from his eyes and across his cheeks to his ears, slams his hands together and starts gathering chakra, while Gamaken charges the 6-tailed fox Naruto that has just grown a fox skeleton on top of it. Gamaken brings down his Susumida right on top of Naruto, breaking the ground around them and kicking up a small dust storm. When it clears up, Gamaken is shocked to see the boy-sized fox is simply holding the massive studded weapon with one hand with little effort on its part. Even more shocking, Naruto then lifts the weapon, along with the building-sized toad, and tosses them away like they were a mere pebble. Gamaken is able to correct himself by gracefully flipping in the air. Upon landing, the toad uses the momentum to launch himself forward yet again, but this time he channels a large amount of chakra into his weapon, thus increasing its destructive capabilities. This forces the possessed Naruto to jump out of the way, once again breaking the ground and creating a large crater that kicks up even more dirt, causing Gamaken to lose sight of his target. Naruto capitalizes on this by making a bijou bomb. Small orbs of black and white chakra begin coming together in front of his snout, forming a large black ball. He further condenses this ball down to about the size of an apple, causing the ground around him to buckle under the extreme weight of it, forming a crater from under him. Then he opens his mouth so wide you can see his jaw separating and swallows the concentrated chakra ball whole, expanding his body to its limit before letting it loose in a powerful shot at the landing toad. Being caught flat-footed, Gamaken only has enough time to raise his shield and channel as much chakra into it as he can muster, before the bijou bomb smashes into him. A massive bang rings out as the bomb collides with the chakra-enhanced shield, causing an equally massive shockwave to push out a torrent of air that slams into the nearby forest, bending, snapping, and uprooting all the trees on the perimeter of the clearing. In a split second, all of this destruction is eclipsed by a blinding light and the roar of a deafening explosion. The bijou bomb ignited forward into a beam of pure chakra, consuming shield, toad, and a long path of forest, leaving nearly a mile-wide trench in their place. Off to the side, Gamaken is plowing through acres of trees, having both the fortune and through extreme effort on his part, to be pushed to the side halfway down the beam's path of destruction. Eventually, coming to a stop by smashing into a plateau of rock. Laying on his back covered in burns, cuts, and blood, his shield all but disintegrated and his Susumida nowhere to be seen, Gamaken groans in pain as Jiraiya appears on the ground by the left side of his head asking, "Are you all right, Gamaken?" The battered toad grunts out, "I'll live, but I'm unable to hold him off any longer, for I am ungraceful." Jiraiya responds in relief, "That's all right, you held him off long enough. I'm ready to enter Sage mode now, you can head back and rest. Thanks for your help." Instead of replying, Gamaken simply disappears in a poof of white smoke. Naruto's mouth is still steaming as he locks his empty white eyes onto Jiraiya, whose hands are glowing brightly with chakra, and lets loose an animalistic roar. The time it takes for the rage-filled monster to bridge the gap between him and Jiraiya is almost instantaneous, throwing an enlarged fist into Jiraiya, caving his entire body into the rock wall behind him. Withdrawing his arm, the fox just sits there roaring in victory, only to be suddenly hit by a high-pressure blast of water, slamming him backwards into the ground, leaving a trench in his wake. Out of the dark hole in the rock wall, 3 pairs of yellow eyes with horizontal pupils can be seen moving forward into the light, revealing Jiraiya in an altered state of appearance and a small old toad on each shoulder. Jiraiya's Sage mode gives him a larger, more bulbous wart-covered nose, toad eyes, a white beard going along his jawline to his chin, and a red hue around his eyes. The toad on his right shoulder is an old male with a green complexion, large bushy white eyebrows, a white pointy goatee, a spiky white top knot, and is wearing a gray cape coming up behind him to a point, named Fukasaku. The old female toad named Shima on Jiraiya's left shoulder has a lighter pale green complexion, purple marking around her mouth. The top of her head looks as though she is wearing a purple hair net with hair rollers underneath, and is wearing a high-collar black cape. Fukasaku with worry asks, "That their monster wouldn't happen to be the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, Jiraiya boy?" Jiraiya answers, "I'm afraid so, boss." Shima yells out, "How in tarnation did he turn into that?" Jiraiya answers with shame in his voice, "I used the seal's key to loosen it, so Naruto could gain more access to the fox's chakra and hopefully learn control it. But it seems in both my haste and overestimation in Naruto's abilities that lead to 6 of the fox's 9 tails to be released. I was left with the only option to summon the both of you and enter Sage mode to try and suppress him long enough to repair the seal before it's too late." Shima responds, "That has got to be the most idiotic thing you've ever done, lad. Plus bringing me out here to fix your mess will cause me to gain more wrinkles." Fukasaku chastised, Ma, there are bigger concerns right now than you getting a few more wrinkles, like the nine-tailed fox getting loose. Shima snaps back, don't belittle a housewife's battle against wrinkles. They are our mortal enemies and a bane on women's society. Besides, don't think I'm not taking this seriously. If you haven't noticed, I'm busy mending the lad's wound with senjutsu, so he doesn't bleed to death. Jiraiya placates. All right, that's enough, you two. You're both right, and I'm the one to blame for both the added wrinkles and the fox's impending release. So I'm very sorry for my mistakes, but can we please stop the fox and save my pupil? Hoping the both of them will stop screaming in his ears. Both toads nod their heads and agree to stop bickering, at least for now. Fukasaku adds, I hope you'll remember this next time you try to do something so foolish. We don't want to have Ta keep cleaning up your messes, Jiraiya boy. Shima chimes in, and you can expect to get an earful from me later, lad. Jiraiya responds, yes, I understand. Thank you for helping. Before Ether Sage Toad can utter a word, they are hit with the sensation of the fox's increase in chakra. Looking over at him, they see him forming another bijou bomb. Knowing he can't let him finish making it, Jiraiya kicks off his sandals and gets on all fours. His hands and feet becoming frog-like, the red markings on his face converging together in a solid mass, looking like upside-down triangles going down both sides of his face, and sharp pointed teeth. He then disappears in a flash, leaving just a dust cloud in his wake. He reappears above the fox with a massive Rasengan in his hand, slamming it down on its head, expanding to the point it engulfs the area in a bright blue light. Jiraiya lands after jumping back, hearing Fukasaku yell out, boy, bring the oil, ma to fire, I'll bring the wind. All three of them release a torrent of wind, oil, and fire, combining them into a sea of boiling oil, rushing to the crater the fox lays in. As the sage art sea of boiling oil hits its mark, kicking up a field of steam and filling the air with the noise of sizzling skin, Jiraiya jumps forward with the seal key appearing on his right arm to repair the seal before the fox has time to recover, but is suddenly knocked back by a huge surge of power. Sage Mode Jiraiya is eclipsed by a massive shadow as large skinless clawed fox hands smash into ground, shaking the entire landscape, revealing a skinless eight-tailed fox the size of a mountain. It roars, sending Jiraiya flying into the rock wall behind him, coughing up blood as he slams into it. He recovers to look up in terror and stutters out, oh, Kami! It's too late. What I have done. Naruto finds himself in his mindscape by the Nine-Tails cage, his jacket and shirt torn open to reveal his torso. He's on his knees holding his head while the swirl pattern of his seal on his stomach is now a solid black and is pouring out into the water. The fox starts speaking in a dark, deep voice. Yes, give in to the rage. Remember all the suffering your own people inflicted upon you. Let loose our power and show them your wraith. At these words, Naruto's eyes turn entirely red and he starts walking over to the cage. Good, now remove the seal and set me free. The fox yells with a rare moment of glee in his voice and a classic sinister grin plastered across his face. Just as Naruto's hand is touching the slip of paper, with the kanji of seal on it that's holding the cage shut, a hand reaches out and grabs his arm, stopping him. I wouldn't do that if was you. A claim and unfamiliar voice lets out. Being pushed back away from the seal, Naruto lands on his butt, the red leaving his eyes. He looks up to see a man with azure blue eyes and spiky yellow-blonde hair with jaw-length bags framing either side of his face. Wearing a standard Konoha uniform with two bands on both of his sleeves, a green flak jacket, blue forehead protector, blue sandals, and a short-sleeved long white haori closed in the front by a thin orange rope and decorated by red flame-like motifs on the edges, with the kanji for Fourth Hokage written vertically down the back. He knows this man. After all, he's looked up at his face for the majority of his short 13 years of life. The man he has long dreamed of surpassing in the hopes of finally being respected by his village, and the man who has caused him the most pain in his life. Minato Namikaze, the Fourth Hokage, the man who saved their village by sealing the nine-tailed fox inside him. Said fox roars, your dash being cut off by Naruto as he stutters out. You're the Fourth Hokage. Aren't you supposed to be dead? Chuckling, the dead Hokage answers while helping Naruto up. Yes, Naruto, I died the day I sealed the nine tails into you, but I stored some of my chakra and consciousness into the seal to appear in your psyche as a contingency for when the seal unraveled to the point you sprouted the eight tail. Truth be told, I was hoping that it would never get this far, especially this early in your life. I never wanted to see the nine tails again. But then again, I was looking forward to meeting my son as a young man. To this the nine tails roars out, RRW, fourth Hokage, come here. I'll RIP you to shreds. He was so close to being free. Yet again the fucking fourth Hokage has to show up and stop it. The Hokage calmly responds, not the best invitation, so no thanks, right, Naruto? Naruto simply responds, how do you know my name? How? I'm the one who named you. You're my son after all. Minato answers incredulously. With a look of confusion, Naruto utters, your son.
I'm.
The nine tails interrupts, RAR. You heard me, you're my son, Naruto. Ignoring the fox, Naruto's face shifts from confusion to joy with a small smile and tears forming in his eyes. Just as Naruto starts laughing, the fox interrupts yet again. Rarar, you, fourth. While pointing behind himself with his left thumb at the fox, Minato says, man, he's annoying. How about we continue this conversation somewhere quieter? He then, with a snap of his fingers, transports them away to a place surrounded by white. There, that's much better, the fourth Hokage said. As Naruto sobs softly and tries to rub the tears out of his eyes with his left forearm, Minato continues. Lord Third didn't tell you much of anything, did he? I guess Lord Hiruzen wanted to suppress as much information about the nine tails as possible. If people found out you were my son, you'd have been in danger. I'm so sorry, Naruto. Naruto's response is a fist to his father's stomach and starts yelling with tears streaming down his face. Why would you ever put the nine tails inside your own son? How could you put me through all of that? I don't know if I'm happy or if I'm mad. While Naruto still sobs softly, his dad asks him with a fatherly face, Naruto, how old are you now? Rubbing tears from his eye, he answers, Yoich? 13. Wow, already 13, huh? It must have been hard for you, Naruto. Forgive me. With a sad look on his face, Minato continues, though I suppose it's little consolation to you for me to put on a fatherly face and apologize now, after putting you through all that. Naruto raises his head sniffing, answers with a pout, it's all right. I'm the fourth's kid. I'll deal. This causes his father to put on a pained smile before answering Naruto's previously asked question. I sealed half of the nine-tailed fox's chakra inside you, because I trusted that you would master this power, because you were my son. There's a reason I went to the trouble. It's based on something I learned 13 years ago, when the nine tails attacked Konoha. Naruto asks, what? Minato answers, there was a mastermind behind the fox, who manipulated him, made him assault the village. Quite a formidable shinobi. Back then he saw right through all of my moves. He's no ordinary shinobi. Someone you need extraordinary strength to stand against and hope to have a chance of defeating. I believe he will attack our village again. Who is this guy? Naruto asks. I don't know who he is, but can you tell that he wore a mask with a hole over his right eye, which contains a Sharingan with time-space jutsu better than mine. I also believe he is the one leading the Akatsuki. Mostly because he told me himself that he would one day regain control of the Nine Tails right before he fled. So it can't be mere coincidence that a group of S-Class Rouge shinobi would be hunting Bijou like he is. Minato answered. Naruto, with a look of shock and panic, yells out, Me! How am I supposed to stop someone who even you couldn't beat? I nearly got taken by this guy's lackeys. I'm not talented or smart like you. I couldn't even stop Sasuke from leaving the village. Yeah, I saw from inside your mind. His father adds. You watched, Naruto yells out in surprise. Minato answers, Yes, I've seen your entire life, Naruto, and that's why I know you can do anything you put your mind to. You've repeatedly overcame the odds that were against you to achieve your dream. which if I remember right, it's to surpass all of the Hokage, including me. But more than any of that, I know you can do it because you're my son and I believe in you. He says that last part while putting his hand on Naruto's head affectionately. Naruto asks, unsure of himself, "You do? Do you really think I can?" Minato replies without hesitation, "Well, it is the duty of a parent to unconditionally believe in their child." That brings a large foxy grin to his face. Chuckling a bit, Naruto says, "Yeah, I guess I can do it, because I'm the son of the fourth Hokage. Believe it." This makes Minato laugh out. "Ha ha ha ha, you sound just like your mother." That causes Naruto to realize he can find out who his mother is. "Wait, who is my mom?" he asks. His dad answers, "Your mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki. She was a strong-willed redhead who talked with the same spirit you do. I wish I had more time to tell you about her, but my chakra's fading, so it's time for me to go. If you want to know more about your mother, ask Jiraiya-sensei. I will rebuild the seal for the last time." At this point, Minato puts his right hand on Naruto's seal and with a twist of his hand, returns the seal back to normal. Just before he fades out of existence, he tells his son, "I want you to know that no matter what anyone says or thinks, both your mother and I will always love you." Jiraiya, along with the toad sages on his shoulders, look up in fear as the nearly freed nine-tailed fox starts forming a bijou bomb that's blocking out the sky above them. Before they can come up with a solution to their current problem, both the bomb and the fox disappear in an explosion of smoke, shrouding the clearing. With extreme caution, Jiraiya approaches the slowly dissolving cloud of smoke to find a passed-out and skinless Naruto. Once seeing Naruto in that condition, Jiraiya rushes to check on him. Kneeling down, Jiraiya flips Naruto over onto his back and checks his pulse. Breathing in relief, he finds him to have a strong pulse and somewhat labored breathing, but thankfully alive. Knowing that Naruto's life is no longer in danger, not to mention everyone else in the nearby area, Jiraiya can't help but wonder what suppressed the fox's chakra and repaired the damage to the seal. Voicing Jiraiya's thoughts, Shima says, "What in tarnation happened? How was the nine tails sealed back up?" Fukasaku replies, "Maybe there was some type of failsafe implanted in the sealing formula to save the boy's life." Jiraiya adds, "Minato was known for being cautious and planning ahead to counteract any unforeseen events. Plus, there are still many unknown aspects of the Reaper Death Seal Minato used. Perhaps Naruto will be able to shed some light on what happened once he wakes up. Until then, we can only speculate as to what happened. But for now, we should focus on getting him treatment for his wounds." Jiraiya grunts in pain as he reaches down to pick up Naruto, causing Shima to state, with worry in her voice, "It's not just a boy who needs medical attention, lad. You're in worse shape than he is. If it wasn't for the fact that nature chakra enhances the body's regenerative abilities, you'd have already died of blood loss." "Ma's right, Jiraiya boy, you need proper medical care and time to heal, and not just from the obvious injury running across your chest, but from the damage caused by your exposure to that their nine-tailed chakra. It's destroying every cell it comes into contact with like some sort of poison. We've been having to split our focus on removing it from your system and maintaining the balance of your chakra and nature chakra. I don't have to tell you what can go wrong if that balance fails, Jiraiya boy." Chimes in Fukasaku. On that point, Jiraiya can wholeheartedly agree. Either nature energy will become too weak and he'll drop out of sage mode, leaving him completely exhausted, which in his current state could prove fatal. Or nature chakra could become too strong, overpowering his own, turning him into a toad statue, making him a permanent part of nature. Shima chastises, "Just be glad that the fourth Hokage had enough foresight to plan for your stupidity, lad. Otherwise, the very worst could have happened here today. Because in your current condition, we would never have been able to suppress the nine-tailed fox in time." With shame and plenty of blame on his part, Jiraiya responds, "You're right, Ma. This was all my fault. Clearly, it was far too soon for Naruto to try and tap into the fox's power to such a degree. For now, I'll focus on increasing his own strength, so that the day when he has to master the nine-tails power, he'll be ready." "Good ta hear, Jiraiya boy, but I recommend that the boy learn Senjutsu before having ta confront that they're nine tails, and it'd be a few more years before I'd reckon his body be ready for the strain of Senjutsu." replies Fukasaku. That would be for the best boss. I'll train him up as best I can, and then when you think he's ready you can summon him to Mount Myaboku to train in Senjutsu. Though he'll probably need more combat experience before he's ready, and that's something he can only get in real battle. That's still a long ways off if you ask me. Answers Jiraiya, while he picked Naruto off the ground and starts to head to the nearby town to get them both some much-needed medical attention. A few days have passed since the incident with Naruto's seal, finding both Jiraiya and Naruto heavily bandaged in Jiraiya's hospital room. It kind of annoys Jiraiya at how fast Naruto tends to recover. He's already been discharged and is now removing the last of his bandages, revealing perfectly healed skin. To be honest, his skin came back in under a day. But his chakra exhaustion is what kept in the hospital for as long it did. Naruto didn't want to be bothered by the doctors, so he kept the bandages on to shut them up. While Jiraiya, on the other hand, is still looking at about a week before he'd be discharged. This meant it'd be a week before Naruto could collect on his winnings. But instead of a disgruntled kid, we find a Naruto lost in thought. He was thinking about everything he learned from his dad in his mindscape. He wanted to bombard the pervy sage with questions as soon as he woke up. But Jiraiya has been unconscious for the past couple of days, only just now waking up, and Naruto was feeling responsible for his condition. If he had been stronger and not as weak-willed, he could have resisted all of that hate and not hurt the pervy sage. Before Naruto can go down that rabbit hole, Jiraiya calls out, "Hey Gaki, what are you thinking about? It's not like you to be lost in thought. To be honest, I thought you never really used that lump you call a brain." While he broke out laughing, Naruto starts pouting and yells back, "Hey, I have a brain. It's just I prefer to use my gut. And for your information, I was thinking about how it was my fault you got hurt." This causes Jiraiya to immediately stop laughing and his face to take on a very serious look as he lectures Naruto. "Now you listen to me good when I tell you that the only one at fault is me. I should have never tampered with your seal, especially as much as I did at your age. It's far too soon for you to handle that type of power. I let my ego get the better of me, and we both paid the price for it. So I don't want to hear any more of this it's my fault talk. Understand? If anything, I should be apologizing to you." Somberly, Naruto nods his head and replies, "Okay, but you're not entirely at fault, because I do need to master the fox's power. Even my father said so." With a sudden look of shock, Jiraiya quickly asks, "What do you mean your father told you? While we're at it, how about you tell me everything about how you were able to suppress the 9 tails?" The next few minutes were spent with Naruto telling Jiraiya about everything that transpired in his mindscape, only stopping to clarify a few things for the pervy sage. Jiraiya was quiet, lost in contemplation over everything he was just told, before finally voicing his thoughts. So it wasn't just an automated failsafe, but Minato himself, and on top of that he tells you that the 9 tails attack on Konoha was orchestrated by a masked shinobi with Sharingan and time-space jutsu better than his own. And on top of that, this masked shinobi plans on finishing the job by retaking control of the 9 tails. Not to mention he suspects that the same man is the one leading the Akatsuki, who are planning to go after the bijou. Damn, this complicates things. I'm gonna have to send a report of this to Tsunade, and I should try to send warnings to all the villages in procession of bijou to keep an eye out for the Akatsuki, for they'll be after their Jinchuriki. Letting out a sigh at all the extra work he's going to have to do, Jiraiya is interrupted by Naruto asking, "What's a bijou and Jinchuriki?" A confused look plastered on his face. Jiraiya can only facepalm and groan out. A bijou are tailed beasts, like the 9-tailed fox, and Jinchuriki are people the bijou are sealed inside of. It's a practice that came along as a means to weaponize the bijou's massive power. After the first Hokage gave them to rivaling villages to maintain a power balance among the nations. A moment of realization hits Naruto. He's a Jinchuriki and there are others like him out there. A million questions race across his mind, from wondering how many there are and if they had the same upbringing as him, to how could people willing turn others into weapons against their will and hate them for it. Seeing the thoughts swirling around in Naruto's head, Jiraiya starts answering his unasked questions. There are 9 bijou in total, ranging from the 1 tail to the 9 tails. Their power is represented by the number of tails they have, meaning that there's never more than 9 Jinchuriki at any one time, and they tend to be treated the same in every village. After all, you met and fought the one-tailed Jinchuriki from Suna, Gara. So you know how unstable they can be, though that's mostly from how horrible their childhoods are. Wait, Gara's a Jinchuriki like me? Naruto yells out. Yes, he is Gaki, so that makes him a target of the Akatsuki too. But don't worry, I'm already planning on warning Suna, which should be the easiest of the villages to warn. Jiraiya answers. Now does that answer all of your questions? Yeah, about Jinchuriki and Bijou anyways, Naruto replied. But what are we going to do about me mastering the Nine Tails power? My dad said I'm going to need that power to beat that masked guy. Jiraiya in a reassuring tone answers, Don't worry, I only said you weren't ready yet. Not that you'll never master it, but we need to get you ready before we try again. That's going to include teaching you as many jutsu as you can handle, upping all of your basics even more, and sparring without the kid gloves. Naruto almost jumped for joy at the jutsu part. Didn't like the whole basic stuff again, but couldn't help but ask a question about the sparring. What do you mean kid gloves? To this, Jiraiya's face breaks out into a shit-eating grin and answers. What? You thought I was fighting you seriously? Come on Gaki, at best I was fighting you at high Chunin level. I'm considered to be a Kage level shinobi. If I sparred with you at full power, you'd be left as a pile of bruises and broken bones. Naruto would like to argue that fact, but he remembered the battle Pervy Sage had with Orochimaru, and that had been with both of them in a weakened state. That was a battle he couldn't even keep track of, so he relented. Jiraiya continues with explaining his plans. We'll start by finding out what your elemental affinity is, so we can focus on jutsu that'll be easier for you to learn. Normally, it would take years of training to master even one affinity, but with the shadow clone method, we'll be able to knock that out in a few weeks or months. That sounds totally awesome. It'll be like learning the fireball jutsu and the Chidori, right? Naruto yells out excitedly. Well, only if you have either fire or lightning affinities, but you could still learn weaker jutsus of affinities you don't have. But it will take longer and be harder to learn, so we'll only focus on the affinity you have. Actually, if you can hand me my scroll, I'll be able to tell you which ones you have. Once hearing this, Naruto practically ran over, grabbed the scroll and tossed it to him. After Jiraiya opens his scroll and unseals a piece of paper, he hands it to Naruto and tells him to channel his chakra into it. What's a stupid piece of paper have to do with figuring out what affinity I have? Naruto impatiently asks. A frustrated Jiraiya answers, It's called litmus paper, and it has a unique quality that reacts to a person's chakra that tells you what your affinity is. If it's fire, it will burn. If it's wind, it will split in two. If it's lightning, it will crumple. If it's earth, it will crumble. And if it's water, it will get wet. Now just channel your chakra into and find out. Doing just that, Naruto waits on bated breath as the paper splits in two. It appears you have an affinity for wind chakra. That's a very rare one to have, and I only know a few jutsus for that one. But the bright side is that it's unrivaled in battle power, able to cut, tear, and sever anything in its path, Jiraiya explained. I knew it. I knew I was unstoppable, Naruto shouts out. Whoa, Gaki. Hold your horses, we've only just figured this out. You must first be trained, so you can properly use and control your nature. We'll first have to practice to make your chakra's change of nature stronger. You will be doing this with as many clones as you can while I'm still hospitalized, by holding a leaf between your palms and using just your chakra to tear it completely in two. Jiraiya informs him. Naruto replies, No problem. I'll have it down in no time. Believe it? And starts to run out the door, only to stop and turn around to face Pervy Sage and says, Hey, I almost forgot, but my dad said to ask you about my mom, Kushina Uzumaki. Jiraiya freezes for a second, wondering how much of the truth he should tell him about his mother and his clan, but decides that he already knows about his father, so why not, and tells him, All right, but sit down, this is going to take a while. Naruto eagerly sits down in a chair by Jiraiya's bed, waiting to hear everything about his mother. Okay, where to start? I guess I can start with how she was the previous Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails before you. My mom was the Nine Tails Jinchuriki? Naruto interrupts, yelling at the top of his lungs. Keep it down, Gaki, or I'll not tell you about her. Jiraiya shouts back. Naruto quickly quiets down and nods his head. Alright, good. And yes, she was selected as the second Jinchuriki host of the Nine Tails. Brought to Konoha all the way from the land of eddies. Naruto interrupts again, but much quieter. Why? She was a stranger from another nation? Why make her a Jinchuriki? Jiraiya answers. Yes, she was from a different hidden village, another nation, but back then, the land of fire and the land of eddies had a very close relationship. The shinobi of Konoha's Senju clan and Yuzushio's Uzumaki clan were distant blood relatives. Full of shinobi brimming with vitality, Yuzushio village was known as the village of longevity. The clan members excelled at sealing jutsu, but they were also a bit savage. The tetragram seal on your stomach was based on a jutsu originally developed by her village. She taught it to Minato, your father, along with other sealing jutsu. Naruto, that symbol on the back of your jacket is the crest of Yuzushio village. It symbolizes to this day the camaraderie between Konoha and Yuzushio, even though Yuzushio no longer exists as a nation now. During the era of war and unrest, their sealing jutsu abilities were greatly feared, so they were targeted and eradicated. Survivors fled and hid themselves throughout the lands. Yet again Naruto interrupts. But why her? Why my mom? No longer caring that he keeps interrupting, it's to be expected, answers. She was born with a particularly powerful chakra, strong even for one from her village, strong enough to suppress the Nine Tails. In fact, the first Nine Tails Jinchuriki was also an Yuzushio kunoichi, which made it tradition. Her name was Mito Uzumaki, and she was the wife of the first Hokage. Do you know about the battle between the first Hokage Lord Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara? Naruto replies yeah, and Jiraiya continues. It was during that battle that in order to lend strength to Lord Hashirama, who obtained the Nine Tails, Lady Mito sealed the Nine Tails inside herself using sealing jutsu, thus becoming the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. Ever since, Konoha has possessed the Nine Tails, and when Lady Mito approached the end of her life, your mother was brought in to become the Nine Tails' next vessel. Not surprisingly, Naruto yells out, they weren't even treating her like a person. Jiraiya replies, I don't know all of the details because everything was top secret. I only know what I do because your mother told your father, who told me. What I do know is that even though your mother was a Jinchuriki, she appeared to be happy with friends and a growing family. This brought a smile to Naruto's face, not just because his mother was able to find happiness as a Jinchuriki, but because it made him feel closer to her. He then asked, if my mother was the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, then how do I now contain him? I wasn't in the village at the time, but from what I've been told and what you recently revealed to me, I can take an educated guess. You see, what most people don't know, and I'm guessing the masked man somehow found out about, is that the seal on a woman Jinchuriki weakens during the approximate 10 months she is pregnant. This is because the chakra that normally goes to the seal is diverted to the growing fetus in her womb. We only know this because the Nine Tails nearly escaped when Lady Mito went into labor for the first time. I figure that when your mother went into labor 13 years ago, the masked man must have used this opportunity to free the Nine Tails and bring him under his control, forcing your father to seal the Nine Tails into you. That's my best guess anyway. Jiraiya answered. Naruto responds after thinking for a few minutes. Okay. Then what can you tell me about my mother as a kunoichi? What kind of jutsus did my mom know and how did she fight? Pondering the question for a moment, Jiraiya answers, well, like most Uzumaki, Kushina was a master at the sealing arts, but what made your mother stick out was her ability to create chakra chains so powerful that they could suppress even the Nine Tails. She was also highly skilled in kenjutsu. She was one of Konoha's best, to be exact. One of things she would often complain about was missing out on the chance to clash with one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist during the last war, to test her kenjutsu skills against the best shinobi swordsman of the world. Naruto responds to this with awe in his voice. Wow, I can't believe my mom would have wanted to tangle with the 7 swordsmen of the mist. I know I don't want to have go against one again. She must have been completely fearless. Laughing a little bit, Jiraiya says, I wouldn't count that time where I saved your butt from Kisame Hashigaki. You didn't really get the chance to fight him after all. Huh, that fish guy with Sasuke's brother was one of the 7 swordsmen? A confused Naruto asked. Yeah. Who else would I be talking about, Gaki? Jiraiya, the one confused this time, asked. Oh, I was thinking about my team's first C-rank mission to protect a bridge builder, but it turned out he lied about the kind of people that were trying to kill him, and we ended up fighting against Zabuza, the demon of the mist. Naruto answered. A very shocked Jiraiya demanded that Naruto tell him the story from the very beginning to the very end. After all, it wasn't every day a team of freshly graduated genin defeat the likes of Zabuza, Jonin-sensei or not. After about a half hour of hyperactive storytelling from Naruto, Jiraiya just sits there with his jaw wide open for a few minutes, before practically yelling. You seriously left the Kubikirabocho, a legendary weapon revered as a national treasure in Kirigakure, and is probably worth hundreds of millions on the black market, as a grave marker for Zabuza in Nami. I mean, I can expect that kind of idiocy from you, but not from Kakashi. I wouldn't be surprised if someone has already stolen it. Alright, the first thing we're doing once I get out of here is to head to Nami and retrieve the Kubikirabocho, if it's still there, that is. Naruto quickly jumps up and yells back, Hey! Don't yell at me. How was I supposed to know that sword was that important? And what do you mean we're going to Nami? You're supposed to train me, not run off trying to strike it rich pervy sage. Jiraiya, in the blink of an eye, grabs Naruto by scruff of his jacket and pulls him up to his face and calmly says, with a deadly serious tone, I'm not looking to strike it rich, Naruto. That blade is a very powerful weapon that any shinobi would give their left arm to have. Plus, I'm not stupid and you're very predictable. You're going to want to learn as many jutsus and techniques that your parents knew so as to be closer to them. If that's really the case, then you can't do any better than one of the swords of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. As for the training you part, I can do that on the way, and we can even train for a bit in Nami. Remember, I'm your sensei, and even if you don't understand my methods, you can be damn sure that what I'm doing for you is for your own good. Got that, Naruto? All Naruto could do was nod his head, for the pervy sage was right on all accounts. He wanted to learn sealing jutsu and kenjutsu like his mom, and the Hiraishin his father was famous for. Even if sounded stupid or seems impossible, he wants to use these jutsu to feel closer to the parents he never got have. Glad to see that Naruto understands, Jiraiya gently puts him back down and says, Now go get to work on the leaf exercise. I want you to have it split in 2 by time we head out. As Naruto runs out to meet the pervy sage's challenge, Jiraiya thinks about how hard these next 2 years and 3 months are going to be for the both of them, and can only groan out at how much research he'll be missing out on. Yet that can't keep the grin off his face as he looks out his window to see about 1,000 Naruto clones holding leaves in their palms. The week had passed since Jiraiya had been discharged from the hospital. Jiraiya and Naruto are standing in front of the great Naruto bridge leading into Nami, looking up at the sign. That causes a single thought to enter Jiraiya's head. Oh great! The Gaki already has an ego the size of the Hokage's monument. Now it's just going to explode up to an unbelievable level. During Jiraiya's internal plight, Naruto is just standing there slack-jawed, unable to process the awesomeness of having a bridge that saved a nation named after him. That didn't last long, for Naruto shouted out in glee, See, pervy sage, I told you I'm a badass shinobi and this proves it. Hey Gaki, don't let this go to your head. There are countless shinobi that have accomplished outstanding and world-changing events that still found themselves in an early grave. Hell, just about every Hokage except the 3rd died fairly young, your father being the youngest. So don't you dare get up on some high horse when you haven't even reached the greatness of the Hokage. Otherwise, I might as well dig your grave right now. Jiraiya chastised. This causes Naruto to deflate fast and mutter out, I'm sorry, pervy sage. It's just that almost nobody thinks that I'll ever amount to anything, and to have the entire nation of Nami practically shout out otherwise filled me up with so much joy that I couldn't contain myself. Jiraiya responds, Look kid, I wasn't trying to make you feel bad. You just need to realize that a swelled head has killed more shinobi than any jutsu. I don't want you to be the next victim of pride. It's called a deadly sin for a reason. Naruto replies, All right, pervy sage, I won't forget. But once I become the greatest Hokage ever, I will have you write a book about me and it'll outsell everything you've ever written. Believe it. Even though he was still being boisterous, he knew that everything Pervy Sage said was true. His father was an unbridled genius who became the youngest Hokage in a flash, was feared throughout the shinobi world, and yet he still died young. Not to mention all of the overly confident assholes he has given a beating to in his years as a shinobi like Niji, but he has mellowed out recently. He could make a long list of people like that, but that was boring and he had better things to do. Jiraiya could just smirk as he replied, "Sure, if you actually accomplish your dream I'll write a book about you, but I'll tell you now, your life story won't be able to surpass my masterpieces. Make out paradise, make out violence, and make out innocence. Even my work in progress make-out tactics will outsell your story. Trust me, people want stories with passionate romance and hot sex more than a good action story." Naruto snaps back. "My life is already a way better story than those boring, perverted book you write. Only perverts like yourself and Kakashi-sensei like that crap." "Oh really? If that was the truth, then there is no way my bank account should be as high as it is. This may come as a shock to you, but my perverted books, as you put it, are among the highest-selling books out in publication right now. So unless you become a lot less dense about women, then there is no way in hell your life story will even hold a candle to my make-out series Gaki." Jiraiya laughs back. With a blush, Naruto says, "Hey, I'm not dense about girls. Don't you remember my sexy jutsu? And I do have a crush on Sakura-chan." Jiraiya turns to face Naruto while he simply replies, "First of all, an understanding of the female form is not the same as understanding women. Secondly, with this Sakura girl, you're only proving my point. If you had even the slightest of understanding of women, you'd know that girl has no romantic interest in you whatsoever. Hell, with the way she begged you to bring back Sasuke should have been a big hint at who she loves." With fire in his voice, Naruto says, "Yeah, I know she loves Sasuke, but that doesn't mean she can't become interested in me. All I have to do is keep trying. She'll eventually accept my feelings for her. I don't give up. That's my Nindo. Believe it." Realizing that he needs to nip this in the bud and fast, Jiraiya, with a serious look and tone of voice says, "Naruto, I need you to pay attention to me because what I'm about to say may be harsh, but it's the cold, hard truth. There is nothing wrong with persistence, but eventually you have to accept when someone doesn't feel the same way about you as you do them. Trust me, nothing good will come out of a one-sided obsession. At best, it will lead you down a life of loneliness, where you'll be envious of the happiness of others, never experiencing it for yourself. At the worst, you can end up driving her away completely, where she will go out of her way to avoid you, cutting off all ties with you. No more being on the same team, no more friendship, nothing. Do you really want to lose her as friend and teammate?" Naruto had never even considered that she could get so fed up with him that she'd stop being his friend. He loves her, but he'd rather let her go and keep her as a friend than hold on so tight that she'd stop being in his life. Sadly, he replies, tearing up, "No, I don't want to lose Sakura, but I don't know how I'm supposed to stop loving her that way." Jiraiya answers with understanding and compassion, "I'm afraid that you may never stop loving her in that way, but you can let her go and be happy that she's happy. To do this, you'll have to try finding someone else who returns your feelings, and trust me when I tell you, you'll feel much more love than you've ever felt before. In the moment where your feelings are returned, will you truly understand what love is?" Sniffling a little bit, Naruto asks, "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to hear it and I don't want you to end up like me. I spent so much time chasing after Tsunade that my entire life passed me by. Sure, I'm a famous shinobi and author, but I missed out on having a family of my own. Who knows how many opportunities one missed out on by not being able to move on from her, even though she rejected me repeatedly, usually with a fist to the chin. The point I'm trying to get across to you is that you shouldn't be so blinded by what's right in front of you, that you miss out on what is waiting right around the corner." Jiraiya answered, with the hope that at least Naruto would give it some thought. I don't know if I can, but I'll try, Pervy Sage. Just, let's not talk about this anymore. Please?" Naruto choked out. He wasn't expecting for things to get so real all of a sudden. It's just too much for him to think about right now, maybe he'll figure it out later. Jiraiya simply nods his head and turns back around to continue crossing the bridge, knowing Naruto needs time to process what he said. After all, one doesn't get over someone with the snap of their fingers. It takes time and a whole lot of self-examination, and even then there is no guarantee you will. Walking a few paces behind Jiraiya, Naruto is lost in thought, eyes squinted shut and chin in his hand. In an attempt to avoid thinking about his love life or lack of one, he's thinking about the training he has been doing since Jiraiya was hospitalized up to now. The first 3 days of trying to split a leaf with just his chakra had been progressing slowly. Some of his clone could barely rip the leaf, while others would be over halfway through it. Then there was the annoying way people would watch him, like they never saw a bunch of clones hunched over and grunting before. Okay, that was probably true, but it still made him nervous. So he ended up having to find somewhere else to train, and it had nothing to do with nurses repeatedly asking if he had constipation. Anyways, fed up with not getting it, Naruto ran back to Pervy Sage to ask if he knew a trick to getting the feel for wind chakra. Seeing as Jiraiya didn't have an affinity for wind chakra, he couldn't help, but he did tell him that Asuma Sarutobi was the only one he knew that had it. Showing Naruto how to use messenger toads, he was able to get some advice from Asuma-sensei about how he needed to split his chakra and grind them against each other like sharpening a blade. But that didn't come free. He was going to have to treat Asuma's team to a meal once he got back to the village. It didn't seem like a big deal to him, so naturally he agreed. He even added in, treating them to 1 meal for each Winjutsu scroll he could give him. That's how Naruto now had a scroll on how to channel wind chakra into weapons and release it to slash his enemies. A scroll on the wind style. Gale Wolf, it gathers wind into the shape of a wolf that tackles into a target, causing a condensed explosion of wind, cutting and tearing anything to pieces. Last, but not least, is the scroll on wind release. Wind Dragon, it releases a dragon made of wind that plows through anything in its path, slicing them up with wind blades. They were jutsu that he wouldn't be able to even attempt until he mastered using wind chakra. But he'd get there, and it only cost him treating Team Asuma to 4 meals, no biggie. It only just now came to his realization that feeding Choji was a part of the deal he already made. This causes Naruto to fall to his knees with anime tears pouring down his face and scream up into the sky while holding his toad-shaped wallet in his hands. "Oh great Kami, what I have done!
Forgive me gamachan."
He was going to be eaten into bankruptcy. Hearing Naruto screaming causes Jiraiya to turn around with a confused look on his face and ask, "What in the world are you crying about, Gaki?" Standing up now, but with anime tears still pouring down his face, he answers, "I promised to treat Team Asuma to 4 meals when we get back to the village." Team Asuma? Oh, that's your generation's Ino Shikacho trio. That causes Jiraiya to burst out into laughter. "Ha ha ha ha. You're so screwed, Gaki. The Akimichi appetite is legendary. You'll be lucky to keep the clothes on your back. Why in the hell did you promise that?" Naruto bashfully answers, "I did it for some advice on using wind chakra and 3 scrolls on wind jutsu." Jiraiya laughs back, "Asuma played you big time. But look at it this way, at least you learned a lesson on making deals. And that's if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is." While Jiraiya continues on his way across the bridge, laughing loudly the whole way, Naruto just pouts, falling in behind him. Eventually Jiraiya's laughter dies down, allowing Naruto to return to his thoughts about his training. After getting what he thought was a good deal, Naruto was able to complete the leaf-splitting exercise by the 4th day. He went back to Pervy Sage for the next exercise to only be told to go back and try to split a tree with his wind chakra in a single burst. Normally he would have been told to split a waterfall, but there weren't any nearby. The pervert said it had to do with increasing the strength of his wind chakra's release, now that he got a feel for using it. So for the remaining 3 days of waiting for the Pervy Sage to be released from the hospital, he and more than 1,000 clones could be found in the nearby forest trying to cut down trees with just his chakra. He was just glad those trees weren't even half the size of the ones in Konoha. That would have taken him months even with clones to cut through one. By the time they left for Nami, one would find thousands upon thousands of trees cut in varying degrees of slash marks on them, but not a single cut down tree. That didn't mean he was done trying. All along the way he'd send 1,000 clone to find trees and continue, while he'd occasionally spar with pervy sage. When Jiraiya said no more kid gloves, he meant it. Naruto was sometimes beaten so bad that Jiraiya would have to carry his unconscious carcass for the rest of the day, and he wouldn't wake until the next afternoon. 7 days of that while traveling nearly killed him, but at end of it, just before arriving at the Great Naruto Bridge, he was able to split a tree in a single burst of wind chakra, meaning he could start on learning wind jutsu. He was just starting to practice channeling wind chakra into his kunai, along with 1,000 clones of course, but Jiraiya made him stop as soon as the bridge became visible, saying it would upset the locals and that he could continue once they retrieved the Kubikurabocho. Once they made it across the bridge, Naruto is taken back at how good Nami looks compared to how it used to look. The difference is like night and day. Where there used to be rundown buildings and homeless people crowding the streets, there is now a bustling shopping district filled with patrons and happy children running around. Naruto is interrupted by his stupor by Jiraiya saying, "All right, Gaki, you can take in the sights later. Hurry up and take me to Zabu's grave, so we can get his sword and start your training in Kenjutsu." Geez, pervy sage, I haven't been here in like 2 years and a lot has changed in that time. Let me get my bearings? A perturbed Naruto replied. With a deadpan face, Jiraiya asks, "Don't tell me you forgot where you buried their bodies?" "Ooh, no. I just can't exactly remember where it is at the moment. Give me a minute, pervy sage." A dumbfounded Naruto answers lamely. That answer leads to Jiraiya to gain a few tick marks on his forehead, while he menacingly advances forward, cracking his knuckles, overshadowing him. "Here, let me help jog your memory," Jiraiya heatedly stated. After a few knocks to his head and several pain-filled screams later, Naruto was able to remember in keen detail where Zabuza and Haku are buried. Unfortunately, the Kubikurabocho was already gone without a trace, leaving Naruto sweating bullets as Jiraiya had a look that could kill, but not the fast drop-dead kind, no, the slowly torment you to death kind. Fortunately for Naruto, Jiraiya was a level-headed person, well, whenever it didn't involve beautiful women, that is, and was already heading back to town to dig up whatever information they could about Zabuza's blade. As it turned out, there was a rumor saying that the one who knows the location of Zabuza's blade is Tazuna. With that in mind, Naruto leads Pervy Sage to Tazuna's house by leaping through the trees at full speed. Dusk was approaching and they needed to hurry if they wanted to get there before nightfall. Plus, he's rather excited to see the old drunker and his family again after all this time. On the way there, Naruto spots 2 trees with slash marks going all the way up them. He can't help but remember the heated struggle he went through to catch up to Sasuke in the tree climbing exercise. Just like then, Naruto finds himself struggling to catch up with Sasuke, but also like then, he'll catch up. Then he'll bring him home. He's brought out of his thoughts when he sees Tazuna showing Inari how to properly cut a piece of lumber to size. Landing a few feet in front of them, Naruto yells out, "Hey old man, Inari, how are you guys doing?" Looking up at the ever-familiar loud mouth, to see Naruto approaching them with a huge grin on his face. Tazuna, with a grin appearing on his face, replies, "If it isn't my favorite pipsqueak, it's good to see you." Tazuna is a gray-haired, bespectacled man with a large beard and dark eyes, wearing a sleeveless V-neck shirt with an obi, pants, a pair of sandals, and is carrying a towel around his neck. Inari's face breaks out into equally large grin before yelling out at the same time as his grandfather, "Hey Naruto, what's up?" He's a kid with spiky black hair and dark-colored eyes, and apparently he's taken up wearing the same clothes as Tazuna. Naruto scowls at the pipsqueak remark. He's still a little sensitive about his height, before yelling back, "Yeah, it's good to see you too, you old drunk. Inari man, what have you grown a foot? And now dressing like your gramps? I think I'm offended to not seeing you wear at least a little of my hero orange." This time it's Tazuna's turn to scowl. He doesn't drink as much as he used to. Things are much better now and work is pouring in faster than he can handle. While Tazuna scowls, Inari answers, "Yup, I'm going to be taller than you at this rate. And for your information, I have a custom-made orange towel I'll be wearing when I start working jobs with Gramps. Believe it." That reaction brings a smile to Naruto's face, while both Jiraiya and Tazuna just stand there with deadpan faces. hoping Inari will outgrow that habit. Snapping out of his stupor, Tazuna asks, "Hey brat, who's the big guy? Did something happen to your sensei and where's the rest of your team?" That gets Naruto to stop his conversation with Inari, to answer, "Huh? Oh, no. Kakashi-sensei is fine and Sakura-chan is training back at the village with Tsunade-chan. This is Pervy Sage, he's training me for the next, 2 years and 2 months." Naruto replied. Jiraiya shouts out, "Hey Gaki, I have name. It's Jiraiya the Gallant, the Toad Sage of Mount Myoboku, and one of Dash. A super pervert who calls peeking on women in the bath research, so in short, Pervy Sage." Naruto interrupts, causing said pervert to just sag with a rain cloud over his head. "What about Sasuke? What's he doing?" Inari asked, completely ignoring Jiraiya. "Oh, you see, we kinda got into a fight. But don't worry, we'll resolve our problems when I'm done training," Naruto shakily answered. Inari, wanting clarification, asks, "What did you guys fight about? Was it over Sakura?" The last part being said playfully. Naruto becomes a bit saddened, while looking down at the ground, unable to look anyone in the eye. He thinks just not of Sasuke's defection, but his failed attempts with Sakura that Jiraiya poked at earlier. Seeing Naruto's downtrodden look, Tazuna says, "All right, Inari, that's enough of that. Whatever happened is between them and is none of our business. Come on, Naruto and pervert, let's go inside and talk about what brings you here." Inari just took the hint and silently followed his grandfather back to their house, with Naruto doing the same. Only Jiraiya was dragging his heels, slightly muttering to himself how no one shows him any respect. After heading inside, they are greeted by Tazuna's daughter, a long blue-haired beauty wearing a short-sleeved pink shirt with the end of the sleeves and collar being red, and a long blue skirt, named Tsunami, who invites Naruto and Jiraiya to join them for their meal. Natural they both agree, but for different reasons. Naruto is simply hungry and is looking forward to a home-cooked meal, while Jiraiya is more interested in perving out on Tsunami and getting the location on the Kubikirabocho. Sitting around a table in their dining area, that's in complete view of a modest kitchen, Jiraiya, Naruto, and Tazuna get down to business, while Tsunami has Inari help her bring the food to the table. "All right, we were told that you would know the location of Zabuza's sword. Mind filling us in? Or was that all just a rumor and we're wasting our time here?" asked Jiraiya. Tazuna's face showing a sudden look of realization answers, "No, it's not just a rumor. I know exactly where his sword's at, or more exactly to say who has it. To be honest, I was contemplating whether or not to hire your team to take care of the issue, but I've been very busy lately doing jobs all over the elemental nations. Then again, it's my fault that piece of scum got his hands on Zabuza's sword in the first place." With a shocked expression, Naruto asks, "How is it your fault someone stole it? Did you try selling it for more booze?" Jumping up and yelling in Naruto's face, Tazuna says, "No, you little brat. I didn't try selling it for booze, you imbecile. I might like the occasional drunk more often than not, but I'm not about to desecrate the grave of the man who killed that little shit gato just to buy a drink." A bashful Naruto says, "Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you. I just don't know how it's your fault." Then jumping up himself adds, "Hey, don't call me stupid, you old fart." Only then just realizing what imbecile means. With sparks shooting from their eyes and colliding, looking like a fight was imminent, only to be stopped by Tsunami with a look that only women have, saying, "Keep it up and you'll live to regret it." They both sat back down with a shiver running through them at the image of unspeakable horrors being inflicted upon them, but still glaring at each other. The conversation was put on hold while food was passed around and everyone had their share, talking lightly about everyday things and a few exaggerated stories. Tsunami would not allow any arguments to disturb the meal she made, and not a man there would do otherwise. Thus it was after she cleared the table and sent Inari to wash up and head to bed, that they could get back to the issue of Zabuza's stolen blade. This time Jiraiya, wanting to do all of the talking, asks, "Now, how exactly is it your fault that Zabuza's sword was stolen?" Tazuna answers with shame, "It's all because of a big job I got around here, and there was no way I'd pass up a job that paid good and was local. This job was for a man named Tenzin. He wanted a castle built to look traditional but with modern comforts like plumbing, electricity, AC, and heating. It was a big job offering a lot work to a lot of people, and with a still recovering economy, I wasn't in any position to say no. Taking a moment to shake his head in shame, he continues, "For the most part everything seemed on the up and up. He paid for all the materials and half the labor costs before we even started. That's why I got chummy with the guy." Eventually the story of Gato's rise to power, our pain and suffering that followed, to how he was finally killed, came up. When I told him how Zabuza died killing Gato, he quickly asked where he was buried and what happened to his sword. I was little drunk at the time and I didn't see any harm in it, so I told him. Tazuna tightens his hands as a grim expression crosses his face. It wasn't until after we finished building his castle that Tenzin changed, or more accurately showed his true colors. Swarms of his thugs came and inhabited the area. He had them steal Zabuza's sword and give it to his bodyguard. He's even claiming to be the one who killed Zabuza, using the sword as proof. Ever since, they've been shaking down small businesses, running illegal gambling halls, and even started selling drugs. We ended up helping a crime boss get his hooks in our country. Tazuna was yelling out in anger at himself by this point. Hey, you can't blame yourself for some scum coming along and taking advantage of all of you in a vulnerable moment. Tenzin is the only one to blame, so stop attacking yourself, Jiraiya sternly said, trying to get him relax. Taking a calming breath, Tazuna replies, "You're right, but still, after Gato I should have seen this coming. Don't be so hard on yourself, old man. Besides, we're here and I'll personally kick this Tenzin guy's ass straight out, Nami." "Believe it," Naruto shouted out while slamming his fist on his puffed-out chest. "Thank you, Naruto. I just wished we didn't need you to fix our mistakes," Tazuna says with a small smile and tired eyes. Tenzin has kept him worried for a while now, but his crimes are small at the moment and are only affecting a few small towns, so getting the majority of the people to take action is difficult, not to mention Tenzin bribes local officials to turn a blind eye. In a few years he could end up being as bad as Gato, and that's the last thing he wants to happen, so he'll rely on Naruto again to save them. "It's no problem, like the Gaki said, we'll take care of it. Besides, we'll have to take care of this Tenzin guy to get back the Kubikirabocho, so just consider our helping you as a coincidence," Jiraiya stated, then asks, "Can you show us on a map exactly where his castle is and perhaps its layout?" "Yes, of course, it's the least I can do. I'll be back with a map and the castle's blueprints," answered Tazuna. It's about mid-afternoon when Naruto is watching hundreds of Tenzin's men riding in on horseback. The night before, after going over the blueprints to make sure there are no secret passageways out of the building and going over the surrounding terrain in case of having to chase down anyone fleeing, Jiraiya went to the castle to frighten Tenzin into calling in all of his men from all over Nami to protect him from Naruto's impending invasion. They agreed to do this so that they can round up his entire crew in one shot. Now Naruto is waiting as the last of his men to make it inside the castle's gates. He'll be going in alone as a way to gauge his progress and give him some more combat experience. To make it harder on him, Jiraiya forbid the use of lethal force, even though Naruto was never planning on killing anyone in the first place, because sometimes he'll be sent on missions that involve capturing your prey alive. Also, he's not allowed to use any of his jutsu. Jiraiya said that relying on jutsu to win a fight is dangerous, for there will be times when you'll not be able to use jutsu, so you'll need to be able to fight and win without them. In short, this is a test of his taijutsu, skills with his ninja tools, and his ability to improvise. Seeing the last horse cross through the gate before it slams shut, locking in place, Naruto begins his assault on the enemy's fortified position. The plan is simple enough. He rigs explosion tags at the gate and rear wall of the castle grounds to split their forces. Then he'll start tearing into their numbers by climbing over one of the undamaged walls, completely unnoticed by the guards, who will be too busy trying to put out fires and planning to counter a fictional pincer maneuver, picking them off one by one with improvised traps. That'll only last for so long before they notice that the explosions were just misdirection and that they're already under attack. When that happens, he'll switch to using kunai and shuriken to disarm/immobilize them, finishing them off with nothing more than his taijutsu. All of that happened in almost a blur because Naruto took off his leg weights before arriving, making him far too fast for those second-rate thugs to even see. Things would have been very different if there had been even one shinobi amongst them, but Tenzin didn't spring for any idiot. Disappearing and reappearing, Naruto took them all out one by one, not even getting a scratch in the process. After all, compared to his spars with Pervy Sage, they might have well been standing still. Throughout the compound, screams of pain and fear can be heard, followed by an orange blur moving about with no resistance, dropping smoke bombs everywhere, removing all visibility. That actually causes some of them to take out each other. By the time the smoke cleared, it had become silent and all of Tenzin's men could be found spread out in various states of unconsciousness, battered black and blue, riddled with kunai or shuriken, tied upside down hanging from trees in the castle, all alive but in a lot of pain. Standing in the middle of the carnage is Naruto, completely unharmed, not even breathing hard. To be honest, he could have beaten this lot back before the Chunin exams. He's currently looking up at the top of the castle with fierce eyes, where Tenzin is hiding out. With a smirk, Naruto kicks in the castle's doors and runs through the building, dispatching the few guards Tenzin had left on the way to the top. Going up the final flight of stairs, Naruto enters a large room with Tenzin, who's shaking in fear and standing in the center of the room. As Naruto approaches him, a large broadsword as tall as a full-grown man, shaped like a butcher knife with two cutouts, a circle close to the top and a semicircular one nearer to the extremely long handle, comes slamming down on Naruto. Naruto barely dodges in time, jumping to the side, causing the Kubikurabocho to become embedded in the floor, leaving the large bodyguard wide open. Naruto goes in with a jumping uppercut, launching the bodyguard into the air and releasing his grip on the blade. He then jumps up above the flying guard and goes into a spinning heel axe kick, connecting with the guard's head, slamming his face into the ground and knocking him out. Turning around to face the quivering Tenzin, Naruto grabs the handle of the Kubikuraboko with one arm and lifts up, only to be unable to remove it from the floor. It weighs more than Pervy Sage. Adjusting his grip with both arms this time, he lifts the blade up and on his right shoulder, only to begin to fall backwards, but he was prepared for that and quickly shifted his body weight forward to counterbalance the blade's weight, grunting softly. Tenzin can't believe what's happened. A little fucking kid dressed in orange has single-handedly destroyed his entire crew. He knew that a shinobi was coming for his life. He was told by a masked man, receiving a small fortune in exchange, that the local villagers secretly hired the same leaf shinobi who saved their country from Gato. So he summoned every last man in his employ to protect him. In having watched this kid wipe out hundreds of the best skilled mercenaries money could buy, Tenzin had given up all hope that he was going to survive. He now regretted not springing for Rouge Shinobi. They are apparently worth the cost. Too late now. As the boy lifted the blade up on his shoulder, Tenzin dropped to his knees and started begging for his life, offering up all the money he had and even promised to leave Nami and never return. After listening to the cowardly excuse of a man beg for his filthy life, Naruto said with venom in his voice, "Fine, I shall let you live, but only if you return all the money you've taken from the people of Nami." Tenzin quickly bowed his head and yelled out in relief, "Yes, yes, of course. Thank you for your gen dash." Cutting him off by swinging the Kubikurabocho down a few inches from splitting his head open, Naruto yells out, "I don't want your thanks, scum. I want nothing more than to see you die. But that wouldn't get the people of Nami their hard-earned money back. It's because of them you get to live, so be thankful to them. You have till the end of the week to do everything I told you to do and leave Nami forever. If you ever do something like this again, I will find you and kill you. Do you understand me?" Tenzin, with his newly formed puddle of urine and slightly cut head, meekly cries out, "Yes, I understand." Naruto removes the blade from his head and stabs it into the ground. Then, while cracking his knuckles, replies with a fox-like grin, "Good, now that we got that out of the way, I can now start your beating for disturbing Zabuz's grave and for claiming to have killed him." What follows is an hour-long ass-whopping filled with pleading screams and begging for mercy, all of which go ignored. Waiting for Naruto in the castle's courtyard is Jiraiya, sitting on a pile of beaten thugs, holding a small scroll in his right hand and leaning his head on his left. He had spent his time collecting the sellable weapons belonging to the unconscious thugs and checking if any of them had a bounty on their head. As it turned out, a few did, the ones Jiraiya is sitting on. He plans on sealing them up inside a toad and turning them in for their bounties at the nearest police station. It wasn't going to be all that much, maybe 2 million Rio. They're just small-time criminals wanted for their various crime here and there. If it had been a bounty on a shinobi, we'd be talking tens of millions to hundreds of millions, but unless they were rouges like Orochimaru, he wouldn't even try. It could cause all sort of trouble, and he didn't like the idea of hunting people down for doing their jobs. Most bounties on shinobi are for collecting vendettas or stealing bloodline abilities like the Sharingan, exclusively run by criminals hidden throughout the elemental nations, making shutting them down extremely difficult. Anyways, he plans on giving Naruto both the money from the bounties and the money he tricked Tenzin out of. It's only fair after all, he did just do a C to low B rank mission, so he should get paid, plus he was the one who beat the guys with the bounties. Besides, Jiraiya makes lots of money from his books, so he doesn't need the cash. Seeing Naruto walking out of the castle with his trademark grin and the Kubikirabocho on his shoulders, Jiraiya complains, "Gaki, what took you so long? Were you having trouble lifting that oversized sword, or just enjoying yourself?" Chuckling a bit, Naruto answers, "Yes, actually, I really enjoyed kicking that jerk's ass, and this sword weighs more than you do, pervy sage. How exactly am I supposed to learn kenjutsu with a blade I can barely swing?" Jiraiya responds, "You do have a point, so I guess you'll just have to build up your physical strength to the point where you can swing it like it's a kunai before learning any actual kenjutsu." "Why can't I practice kenjutsu with a lighter blade until I'm strong enough to wield the Kubikiraboko?" Naruto asked. "Well, I suppose you could practice the basic forms, but to truly master a kenjutsu that fits the Kubikirabocho, you'll need to be able to wield it. For its weight is part of its effectiveness and use. So you'll need to get used to its weight. To do that, I want you to carry it with you at all times, until you don't even notice the weight." Jiraiya answered, "What? I have to carry this around with me all the time? This damn thing is like twice the size of me. Do you have any idea how annoying that's going to be?" A perturbed Naruto screamed. "Yeah, so get over it. The payoff in the long run far outweighs the short-term annoyance," Jiraiya said. "All right, fine, but there is something that's been bothering me, pervy sage. I've never seen you with a sword, let alone use one. So do you even know any kenjutsu?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya simply answers in a nonchalantly manner, "Nope, not really. I just know some of the basics of using a sword. I'm not in any position to teach kenjutsu." That causes Naruto to faceplant, and even the Kubikiraboko seems to have a sweat drop going down it. Jumping up and pointing his newly gained sword at pervy sage, yells out, "Then what the hell was the point in getting this sword if you can't teach me to use it, pervy sage?" Hopping off the pile of thugs, Jiraiya placates Naruto by answering, "Relax, Gaki. I might not be able to teach you kenjutsu, but I know plenty of kenjutsu masters that'll gladly teach you." Putting the blade back on his shoulder, Naruto replies, "Okay, but who are these masters and where do we have to go to meet them?" Answering Naruto, Jiraiya says, "Actually, you've already met one of them, and we don't have to go anywhere. We can just summon them to us." A very confused Naruto replies, "Huh, I don't remember meeting a kenjutsu master. Well, at least one that would teach me. And what do you mean summon them? Do they take house calls or something?" An exasperated Jiraiya, with a twitching eyebrow, yells, "Toad summons, you idiot. Haven't you noticed how some of them use swords? Kamigaki, how dense can you be?" Naruto snaps back, "Hey, it's not my fault that you didn't just say that, you loudmouthed pervert. I shouldn't have to. I even used the word summon as a clue. But then again, I should have known you're too stupid to figure it out." Jiraiya screamed back. Naruto fires back, "Don't call me stupid, you pervert." Jiraiya ends their argument by stating, "How many times do I have to tell you I'm not a pervert? I'm a super pervert. He he he." With a deadpan face, Naruto replies, Yeah, I get it, you're a super pervert. Happy now?" Proudly, Jiraiya answers, "Yup, as happy as a super pervert in a mixed bathing house." Ah, laughing loudly to himself in joy. After his laughter dies down, he gets back on point by saying, like I was trying to say earlier, we can just summon one of the toads that have mastered Kenjutsu to teach you, probably one of the smaller ones. We don't want you getting crushed in the process. Naruto just nods his head in agreement. He can imagine the chief toad flattening him with one swing of his building-sized blade. Oh, by the way, here catch. Jiraiya tossed him the small scroll he was holding. Catching the scroll with his left hand, keeping the right holding the handle of his sword, Naruto asks, "What is this? A jutsu?" He excitedly hoped. "Nope. Just 10 million Ryo I got off Tenzin for telling him about your attempt on his life." Jiraiya answered with a grin. "What? Really? Wow. I won't have to worry about buying ramen for a long time with that much money. Why are you giving this to me?" An extremely happy Naruto asks. "Well, you did just beat this small army of thugs without using a single jutsu, so let's call it a reward. Though I wouldn't be too attached to that ramen idea if I was you. Or did you forget about having to feed an Akimichi 4 times? Jiraiya answered with a twisted sense of humor. Remembering his deal with Asuma, Naruto's head drops with a rain cloud over it, crying about how his stupid deal just cost him his dream of never-ending ramen. Helping to snap Naruto out of his depression, Jiraiya says, "Relax, you'll get around an extra 2 million by collecting the bounties on these morons." Pointing at the pile of thugs he was sitting on earlier. That bit of news gets the rain cloud to disappear and a smile to come across Naruto's face. It might not be as much, but it'll still get him a lot of ramen. Shouting out in joy, he says, "Come on then, pervy sage. Let's go collect my money already?" Running off at full speed, completely forgetting to grab the guys they need to turn in to collect the money, and not even knowing where to go. Jiraiya just seals the thugs up and casually walks out of the compound, knowing eventually Naruto will come back with a sheepish grin admitting he didn't know what to do. 2 weeks have passed since Naruto retrieved the Kubikirabocho and collected all that sweet Ryo, and Tenzin left Nami, doing everything he was told to do, never to come back. In a clearing in the woods, near Tezuna's house, 50 clones and the original Naruto are going through basic Kenjutsu forms under the instruction of Gamatana, a small pink elderly toad dressed in a traditional purple hakama, white katajinu, and a katana at her waist. She is the head Kenjutsu instructor on Mount Maboku and only agreed to teach Naruto because she was ordered to buy the honored toad sages. The clones are using wood-carved replicas of the Kubikirabocho, while Naruto uses the real one, which leads him to often fall face forward or on his backside, smacking his face into the sword spine or his head into ground. That causes Gamatana to hit him with her sheath for messing up his forms, and his clones to start laughing at him, ungrateful pricks. On top of his Kenjutsu instruction, he has to do an arduous physical training regimen to increase his strength, plus about 1,000 clones are divided up and training on various jutsu and skills. The most boring one is calligraphy, but Pervy Sage said it's vital that he masters it before he starts learning sealing jutsu. At the end of the day, he is covered in dirt, blood, and bruises being dragged into Tezuna's home by Jiraiya because he still passes out when his clones disperse. He'll wake up a few hours later and wash up for dinner made by Tsunami. They've let both Jiraiya and Naruto stay at their house while they're in Nami, as thanks for getting rid of Tenzin and his crew. The time with Tezuna's family has been like a dream for Naruto. It's how he imagined having a family would be like. A crazy uncle that annoys him to no end, but you can't help but like anyways. A little brother that practically worships him, even though they get into the occasional argument. A stern but loving mother who'll be concerned when he comes home hurt, yet will punish him for dragging in mud. A grandfather that embarrasses him all the time, but he wouldn't trade for all the ramen and jutsu in the world. He wished it could last forever, but Pervy Sage said they'd only stay for 2 weeks, meaning they'd be leaving tomorrow afternoon. When he asked why, Jiraiya said that to keep up with his spy network he had to always be on the move, never staying in one place for too long. Even though that was true, Naruto knew that it was also because being outside the village made him an easier target for the Akatsuki and he wouldn't want to put Tezuna and his family in danger. Seeing as it was his last night with everyone, Naruto was taking his time eating, which for him is very unusual, so as to soak it all in. Just as dinner was winding down inside the house, outside 5 shadowy figures surround the house. 4 of them take each side of the house, so ask to cut off their target's escape routes, while the 5th one casually walks to front door and knocks. Waiting for a few seconds, the one at the door hears footsteps approaching and the doorknob turn. Just as door opens, an older male voice yells out, "Naruto, don't open that door." But it's too late. As the figure's shadow consumes Naruto, he utters out, "Your dash." 3 weeks ago in Konoha, at the Hokage residence, inside the Hokage's office, is a fair-skinned woman with brown eyes and straight blonde hair that parts above her forehead, revealing a violet diamond mark. Her hair has shoulder-length bangs that frame her face, and the rest is tied in 2 loose ponytails. She has a curvaceous frame with above-average height and noticeably large breasts. She is in fact widely regarded as the most beautiful kunoichi in the world. She is wearing a grass-green haori with the kanji for gamble on the back. Inside a red circle, a gray kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held closed by a broad, dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants. The blouse is closed quite low, revealing her sizable cleavage. She wears open-toed, strappy black sandals with high heels and has red nail polish on both her fingernails and toenails and uses a soft pink lipstick. This woman is Tsunade Senju, the 5th and current Hokage, and she is reading a report from Jiraiya about Naruto's training incident a week ago. As she reads the report, her grip on the scroll tightens, and when she finishes reading it, she slams her fist into her desk, splitting in half, while yelling out, "Damn that reckless pervert! He could have killed Naruto and released the 9 tails. What in Kami's name does he think he's doing? Shizun, get in here now." Shizun is a fair-skinned woman of average height and slender build with onyx eyes and jet black hair. Her hair is straight and shoulder-length with bangs that cover her ears and frame her face. She is wearing a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, a mesh shirt underneath, and open-toed sandals with low heels. She was in the middle of filling out a requisition form for another desk when Tsunade called for her. Rushing into the Hokage's office, Shizun Quickie answers out, "Yes, Lady Tsunade, what do you need?" Tsunade orders, "I need you and a team of Umbu to track down Naruto and Jiraiya at once." "May I ask why, Lady Tsunade?" Shizun asked, rather confused as to what's happening. "That fool Jiraiya nearly caused the 9-tailed fox to be released by playing with Naruto's seal. That's why," Tsunade replied irritably, giving Shizun Jiraiya's report. After fully reading the report, Shizun replies, "Oh my, are you going to have us escort them back to the village?" Letting out a frustrated breath, Tsunade answers, "No, I want you to give Naruto a full checkup to make sure everything is okay. That coward of a fool, Jiraiya, is too afraid of what I'd do to him to bring Naruto here anytime soon, so I need you to go in my stead. Besides, that little brat would have a fit if I cut his training short." Despite her tough exterior, Tsunade is very worried for Naruto. He means a lot to her. "Okay, but we can't afford to send any Umbu to help me track them down. As you know, Konoha's forces are spread too thin as it is, and we can't risk the village's safety by leaving it too short-handed in the event of an attack." Shizun responded. Agreeing with her protege, Tsunade asks, "Then who can we spare that has the required skills to aid you in tracking them down?" Thinking for a minute, Shizun answers, "I believe Team 8, led by Kurenai, just got back from a mission a few days ago, so they can go on the mission. They have an excellent mission record for tracking and capturing their target, and seeing as they're still a genin team, we can afford to spare them. The only downside is that we'd have to come up with a cover story for why we're being sent after Naruto, seeing as everyone in that team but Kurenai is unaware of Naruto's Jinchuriki status." Tsunade puts her chin in her hand while thinking over Shizun's offer. Finding no other alternative, Tsunade says, "All right, inform Kurenai to assemble her team and report for duty immediately, then go prepare as well." "Yes, ma'am," Shizun responded, turning quickly and exiting the office to follow the Hokage's orders. Half an hour later, Kurenai Yuhi and her 3 genin are standing at attention in front of the Hokage's desk, waiting to receive their mission. Kurenai is a fair-skinned woman of slender build, long black untamed hair reaching her upper back, and very unique eyes that are red in color, with an additional ring in them. She wears makeup consisting of red lipstick and purple eyeshadow. Her outfit consists of a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible. This very broad material which resembles bandages with a pattern on it similar to those of rose thorns. Her hands and upper thighs are also wrapped in bandages, and she wears the Konoha forehead protector and regular shinobi sandals. Standing in front of Kurenai on the right is Kiba Inuzuka. He's a 13-year-old boy with several physical animalistic traits like most of his clan. He has messy brown hair, sharp black eyes with vertical slit-like pupils, pronounced canine teeth, and nails that he can change into claws. He also has the distinctive red fang markings of the Inuzuka clan on his cheeks. His attire consists of dark grayish pants reaching to his calves and a gray, hooded fur-lined coat, with the hood placed on his head, over a plate of armor and fishnet undershirt, with a blue forehead protector and blue sandals. Inside his jacket is his nin dog Akamaru, a small puppy with white fur, resembling a Great Pyrenees, squinted eyes appearing closed, a brown nose, as well as brown patches on his ears and a brown outline around his mouth, and the fur on top of his head is styled to somewhat resemble a mohawk. Standing on Kiba's left, right in front of Kurenai, is Hinata Hyuga, a pale-skinned girl possessing, as a Hyuga, the Byakugan, giving her featureless white eyes with tinges of lavender. She has short Heim-style dark blue hair, kept just above her forehead with chin-length strands framing her face. She's wearing a cream-colored hooded jacket with a fire symbol on the upper sleeves and fur around the cuffs and hem, navy blue pants, and keeps her forehead protector around her neck. Standing on Hinata's left is Shino Aburame, a fair-skinned boy and tallest member of his graduating class, has dark, bushy, brown hair and dark round glasses obscuring his eyes. He is wearing a gray-colored jacket with a high, upturned collar going up to his nose and brown pants. He wears a blue forehead protector and blue sandals. While Tsunade just sits there, leaning forward with her elbows on the desk and her fingers laced together in front of her face, Kurenai can't help but wonder what's so urgent that she'd receive an emergency summons, demanding she gather her team and immediately report to the Hokage's office. It had better be important to have interrupted one of her rare dates with Asuma. With how they are trying to keep it secret, it has been difficult to find the time to go on any dates without being caught. Sure, it'd be easier if they would just be open about it, but right now she just wants it to be between the two of them and not some rumor-filled gossip being spread all over Konoha. You'd think that in a village full of shinobi people would be more closeted. But no, everyone wants to be in everyone else's business. At least just their private lives. Everyone knows better than to try and stick their noses in official business that can cost you your life in a shinobi village. Kurenai was brought out of her thoughts by Shizune entering the room and standing by her, waiting for the Hokage to speak. Once Shizune enters the office, now wearing the standard Konoha uniform with distinct extra-long sleeves, Tsunade decides to give Team 8 their mission. All right, now that everyone is here, I can now give you the details of your mission. We've received a report from Jiraiya that a week ago, Naruto Uzumaki was critically injured during a training accident. He's supposedly fine now, but Jiraiya refuses to bring him back to village to prove it and is most likely on the run. For that reason, you'll be tracking them down while escorting Shizune to Naruto, so he can get a proper medical examination. Kurenai, not understanding why this mission was so urgent, asks, Lady Hokage, why is it so important that you have Naruto examined? I highly doubt that Jiraiya would lie about Naruto's condition, so if he's alive and well, why send us to go to his aid? Two of her genin thinking the same thing, while Hinata isn't able to get past Naruto-kun being badly hurt, concern clearly written on her face. Letting out a sigh, having expected those lines of questions, Tsunade answers. Because the accident involved Jiraiya stupidly messing with a certain dangerous seal that nearly killed him as well, and could have other long-lasting effects that ordinary doctors will miss. Glad to see Kurenai's eyes widen in shock, signifying her understanding at the underlining meaning of the nine-tails seal being tampered with, Tsunade simply adds, I hope you now know the importance for this S-rank mission. To be honest, I'd rather send a team of Umbu, but you all know we're simply too short-handed to spare them right now, so you'll have to do. Here's a copy of the report and their last known location. Now get going, I won't ask again. Handing Kurenai a scroll with a firm stare. Yes, Lady Hokage. We'll head out immediately. Kurenai says after taking the offered scroll, cutting off Kiba's attempt to ask what Tsunade meant, ushering her team out of the room with Shizun following after them. As they were running out of the village at top speed, Kiba yelled out to his sensei, "Hey, Kurenai-sensei, what was all that about? What kind of seal could be so dangerous that we're suddenly rushing off on our first S-rank mission?" Akamaru barking in agreement with his master, Shino merely nodding his head, and Hinata looking at Kurenai with a mixture of determination and concern. Determined to go help the boy she loves and concerned with his safety. Having to carefully script her words so as to not give away Naruto's secret, Kurenai takes a minute to answer. What you all need to understand is that sealing jutsu is an obscure art and can be very dangerous, and for a master of the art to nearly kill himself messing with one, then Naruto must be in even worse shape than Lord Jiraiya. I honestly can't figure out what Lord Jiraiya was thinking in training Naruto with such a seal. I'm surprised he isn't dead or worse. Hinata is the one to speak up now, in a frightened tone. Dida dead. Naruto-kun Kosi could be dead. No Hinata. If he was dead, your team wouldn't be on this mission. To be honest, if Naruto was dead, Lady Tsunade would have rushed off to kill Lord Jiraiya, answered a serious Shirzine. Shino chimes in by asking in his usual calm tone of voice, "Then what could be worse than that?" Shizun answers, "Well, for one, his chakra network could be sealed off or even destroyed, preventing him from using his chakra. Then there is even the possibility of him being sealed away in another dimension, to never return. The possibilities are almost endless, but none of them are good." Well, shit, that's not good. But that doesn't explain why it's a S-rank mission. I mean, sure, the possible damage Naruto received is as bad as it gets, but doesn't that mean the danger's past? Asked Kiba. Kurenai is the one to answer, "Yes, Kiba, the danger of this mission is low, but remember we're tracking Lord Jiraiya of the legendary Sannin. A shinobi of his caliber usually isn't found unless they want to be, so we're rushing off to quickly pick up his trail before it goes cold. He already has a 1-week lead on us, so hurry up and stop slowing us down with questions." Kurenai's hoping they stop looking too close at the situation. After all, it's still illegal for anyone to talk about Naruto's connection to the nine-tailed fox. While Kiba, having come from a clan that specializes in tracking, is aware of how bad a disadvantage they're in, being a week behind their target. Add in the skills of a Sannin, which are known by just about every shinobi in the world, their chances aren't looking good. So he simply shuts up and follows his sensei, hoping to make it in time to pick up any trail. All the while, Shino is focused on collecting all the information he needs to complete the mission, while secretly wondering what his superiors are hiding about Naruto. Hinata, on the other hand, is only concerned with finding and helping Naruto. She has already known that most of the adults in the village have been keeping secrets about him, and one day she'll find out what they are. But right now she is too worried to care. Shizun is just hoping that Tsunade is just overreacting and Naruto is just fine. She'd hate to see the boy, who saved her master from her own demons, hurt. With all of those thoughts on their minds, they pass through Konoha's gates and to the scene of Naruto's accident. After 2 weeks of near-constant high-speed travel, only stopping every few days to rest, Team 8 and Shizun arrived at the clearing Naruto rampaged in. The devastation they saw was shocking, leaving the 3 genin wondering what could have caused it, while the 2 adult Kunoichi are only wondering how Jiraiya was able to suppress the 9 tails. With Kiba and Akamaru not being able to pick up any scent, they went into the nearby town to ask around about Naruto and Jiraiya. They lucked out that almost everyone in the hospital heard the argument Jiraiya had with Naruto, so they now knew that their targets left for Nami a week ago. Arriving at the Great Naruto Bridge leading into Nami, a week later, they had to listen to Kiba bitch about how Naruto already had shit named after him. Fortunately, it was easy to get information on Naruto once they got into Nami. Apparently Naruto had destroyed a local crime organization 2 weeks ago, freeing several small towns from their rule. Not to mention how Team 7 had saved all of Nami from Gato 2 years ago. That continued to piss off Kiba as Naruto was constantly being referred to as Nami's hero. While that brings a blush to Hinata's face, she was happy that there are people who really admire Naruto, like she does, and a little jealous that some of the girls there are openly crushing on him. What right did they have to her Naruto-kun? They weren't there when he was alone, hurting, crying out for people to just recognize him. She was the one who... That's when she realizes that she wasn't there for him either, just watching him suffer and persevere on his own, never reaching out to ease his pain. The way she saw it, she was worse than them. They didn't know, but she did and still did nothing to help him, all because of her own cowardice. Sure, she could hide behind the fact that he was in love with Sakura, but she still could have been a friend for him back when he had none. She can't even hide behind her parents, saying that they told her to stay away from him. Her mother was dead and her father stopped caring what she did after he chose Hanabi to be his heir. After thinking about all of that, Hinata decides that the only way to make it right is to tell Naruto everything and hope he forgives her, and maybe be willing to at least still be friends. Having got the location for Tezuna's house, where they heard Naruto was staying, they got there by nightfall, scouting out the area, making sure that they're not walking into a trap. This is where they decided to split up and surround the house, while Shirzine approached by the front and knocked on the door, just in case Jiraiya tires to flee with Naruto. After answering the door, missing Jiraiya's warning, Naruto sees Shizen standing there with a smile on her face, and utters out in surprise, "You're Shizune-chan?" happily yelling out, "What are you doing here? It's so good to see you." Glad to see Naruto fine, though slightly bruised, Shizen joyously answers, "To see you, of course. After Lady Tsunade got Jiraiya's report, she sent me after you to give you a full medical checkup." Jiraiya interrupts, "Yeah, then who exactly are the 4 shinobi surrounding this house?" Suspicion clearly heard in his voice. "Their teammate, they helped me track you down, Lord Jiraiya. After all, you were fast to flee and adamant about not bringing Naruto in to be examined after your guy's accident," Shizen said with a sweet voice that was full of scorn. Jiraiya lamely explains, well, you see, we had to go get this legendary sword and ran into a crime boss and dash." Naruto interrupts by yelling out, "You're just making excuses, pervy sage. You're just scared that Tsunade-bachan would punch you into a coma." "Shut up, Gaki. You've never been punched by her at full force. That shit hurts, and I'm not in the mood to nearly die twice by her fists," Jiraiya yelled/cried out. Naruto asked, "Twice? What did she catch you peeking on her in the bath or something?" Jiraiya could only look away with a blush while nervously scratching his cheek. That leads to Naruto saying with a deadpan face, "You did, didn't you? You massively stupid, super pervert." Jiraiya snaps back, "Yeah, well, it was totally worth it." Nobody in the house could say anything in response to that very stupid statement, so they had no other choice but to pretend it never happened. Moving on, Shizen called Team 8 to come out and head inside, after getting Tsunami's permission, of course. Naruto greets all of his friends and introduces them to Tezuna, Inari, and Tsunami. While pleasantries are exchanged between Team 8 and Tezuna's family, Shizen prepares a room to give Naruto his medical examination. Jiraiya walks up to Shizen to talk to her in private, asking, "Shizen, be honest. Tell me how pissed off is Tsunade?" Without turning around from her prep work, she answers, "Well, for starters, she snapped her desk in half after reading your report. Then she called me into her office, wanting to send a squad of Umbu after you, but couldn't afford to spare them, so had to settle for a team of genin. If I was her, I'd punch you as hard as I could and would never stop hitting you." A little heat entering her voice. "It seems that Tsunadeheim isn't the only one who's angry with me," Jiraiya responded. With fire in her eyes, Shizen quickly turns around and says with barely contained fury, "Of course I'm angry with you. What in the name of Kami went through your head when you thought about loosening his seal? It was barely even 3 months into his training, and you thought he was ready to do what only 4 others in the history of the shinobi world did. You could have killed him and released the 9-tailed fox on the world. Do you know how many people would have died if that happened? What's wrong with you?" With every passing moment, Jiraiya felt smaller and smaller, just standing there and taking it until Shizen got it all off her chest. When she was done, breathing heavily, Her frustration diminished. Did Jiraiya finally answer her with regret in his voice? You're right. I tried speeding through his training and jumping ahead to a place Naruto is in no way ready to go. I promise that I won't even consider touching his seal again, unless it's to tighten it up. The only one who will know when Naruto is ready is Naruto. I'll focus on training him right, that's why we're here actually. He's learning kenjutsu like his mother. I even having him learn elemental jutsu and calligraphy so he can get into sealing jutsu. It's good to hear that you learned your lesson and you seem remorseful, but you'll still get a beating when you see Lady Tsunade. Shizune replied. Damn, I have it coming to me, so I'll just have to take it like a man and hope she shows me some mercy. Jiraiya dreadfully responded. So Naruto knows about his parents. Did he take it well? Shizune asked while returning to her work. Yeah, he knows about them and took it kind of hard, but he jumped back fast and now even demands I teach him their jutsu. I guess he hopes that it will help him feel closer to them. Jiraiya answered with a little laugh. That brought a smile to her face before she tells Jiraiya, all right, I'm finished here. You can send in Naruto for his checkup. Jiraiya just nods his head and leaves to get Naruto for Shizune, only to find Naruto missing. Apparently, while he was talking to Shizune, Naruto went outside with Hinata to talk about something in private. A perverted thought entered his mind. Not that shocking, really? So he thinks about peeking in on them, only to be stopped by stern looks on Kurenai's and Tsunami's faces. It's a kind of look that says we'll kill you if you even try. Surrendering, he just takes a seat and waits for Naruto to return by ogling the two beauties in front of him, leading said beauties to give him a new set of killer stares. Having noticed Hinata's more withdrawn behavior, Naruto asked her what was wrong. With a blush on her face and what looked like shame in her eyes, she asked him if they could talk in private, which is why he now finds himself in the woods at night with an awkward Hinata, the moonlight shining down on them. After a few minutes of awkward silence, Naruto asks, Hinata, wasn't there something you want to talk to me about? Being startled, Hinata stutters out, Ano, I am have to app apologize to YU. She's having to force herself to get her words out. An overpowering fear of her crush hating her is gripping her heart, but she can't falter now. She needs to get this out or she'll never be worthy enough for him. Confused, Naruto asks, apologize? What for Hinata? Taking a deep breath to steel her nerves, Hinata clarifies. I've watched and admired you for years. Ever since you saved me from those 3 bullies our first year at the academy. I've gained immeasurable strength from watching you repeatedly get back up from your failures. A proud failure who never gave up. It's where I got my nindo from. Everyone in my life either called me a failure or treated me like I was made of glass. Even my own father wrote me off as useless, but you were the first person who believed in me. Yet all I could do for you while you suffered alone was to just watch you from the shadows, never reaching out to you to ease your pain. I was a coward not worthy of loving you. I'm so sorry, Naruto. Can you ever forgive me? At this point, Hinata is in tears and sobbing lightly. Naruto is too taken back to respond right away. He never noticed her until the Chunin exams, and even then he didn't see how much she cared about him. All he ever saw when he looked at her was a weird girl who stuttered a lot. He likes weird people, but he never even conceived that any girl liked him. He was too busy trying to get Sakura's affections to notice anyone else. It seems that Pervy Sage was right. He is dense when it comes to women, but that doesn't mean he's going to give up on Sakura. He'd need to talk to her first and maybe even with Hinata, just to get to know her more and see if he likes her as more than a friend. It's just all too confusing right now to even think about, let alone talk about, so he'll table that problem for now. The part about her watching him for years in secret was kind of creepy and disheartening. Just thinking about how much it would have meant to him to have had even a single friend as a child. Sure, he played with Choji, Shikamaru, and Kiba, but it was more like he played around them than played with them. Shikamaru didn't seem to care one way or the other, never making fun of him, but not really trying to get to know him. Choji was always nice to him, but just seemed to live in Shikamaru's shadow, and Kiba ended up becoming one of the ones that mocked him all the time. Hell, they just got into an argument over him being more famous than he is, but it's kind of like the rivalry he has with Sasuke, but more friendly. To have had a friend that was concerned about him and actually cared would have brought untold joy to his life. Like when Irika-sensei said he believed in him to Mizuki team. Instead of being angry, he can't help but feel bad for Hinata. He couldn't imagine what he'd do if Irika told him he was worthless like Hinata's father did to her, and he can relate to being treated as a failure. Now looking at Hinata crying her eyes out and shaking while holding herself, Naruto grabs her by her shoulders and tells her with a gentle voice, "Hinata, stop crying, please. I'm not mad at you, I promise." Removing his hands from her shoulders as she lifts her head up and wipes the tears from her eyes. While still shaking a little and letting out a slight sob every now and again, Hinata asks, "Are you sob really and not mad at me?" Throwing on his signature grin, Naruto answers, "Of course. I wouldn't have said so if I didn't mean it. I mean, sure, it would have been amazing to have had a friend growing up, but I can also see why you're so shy. With your own father saying that you're useless, you probably didn't have any confidence back then. Plus, I'll admit that I kind of forgot about the whole rescuing thing." Chuckling embarrassedly while scratching the back of his head. That brings a small smile and a blush to her face as she says, "Ano. Thank you, Naruto-kun, but I still could have done more for you." "Hey, stop that. It's all in the past now, Hinata. Let's just focus on moving forward," Naruto said. Having stopped crying, Hinata responds with a full smile, "Okay, Naruto-kun. I'll let it go for you." "Good. I'd like to talk to you some more to become better friends, but that's going to hard with me on the road training and you back in Konoha," Naruto said. Hinata offers, "What about WE exchange letters?" Absolutely ecstatic that Naruto is taking an interest in her, even if it's only as friend. "Oh yeah, Hinata, you're a genius. We can exchange letters to each other by messenger toads," Naruto happily declared, then added, "I could keep in touch with everybody, even Sakura-chan." At hearing Naruto talk about writing Sakura as well, Hinata's joy fell a little, but she wasn't going to give up either. Unlike her, Sakura and most other girls in their age group had crushes on Sasuke, so she had better odds in her favor. Before either one of them can keep up their conversation, Shizen yells out, "Come on back inside, Naruto. It's time for your checkup." Gulping, Naruto slowly heads inside, dragging his feet as he goes. After all, he hates being poked and prodded by doctors. Hinata stifles a chuckle at Naruto's antics. He's not afraid of fighting demon shinobi and monsters, but is scared of doctors. How could she not laugh a little? The next day, a group of shinobi are leaving Nami, after Naruto got a clean bill of health from Shizune, and having said their goodbyes to everyone. Splitting into two groups, one with 5 members headed back to Konoha and the other with 2 headed off in the opposite direction. They wouldn't be seeing each other for a little more than 2 years, all of the genin becoming stronger along the way. With teammates group, Hinata is thinking about when Naruto told them about what really happened during his training accident. How he has the 9-tailed fox sealed inside him and how he meet his father, the 4th Hokage. Also asking not to tell anyone, he wanted to be the one to tell the others. Kiba simply called bullshit, that there was no way he was 4th son, but was quieted by Kurenai, Shizune, and Jiraiya confirming it as true. Shino was just quiet, like he already knew something was up, but didn't really care anyway. Naruto was still just Naruto to him. She, to everyone's surprise, gave Naruto a hug and told him that it didn't change how she felt about him. If anything, it made her admire his strength all the more and hate herself just as much. But like Naruto told her, no more wallowing in the past, we move forward. Naruto is out there getting stronger to save a friend, while the Akatsuki are hunting him down for the monster inside of him. She has to get stronger too so as to help protect him when they come for him, standing at his side able and ready to fight. So thinking along those lines, Hinata asks, "Shizun-sama, I was wondering if you would be willing to teach me medical ninjutsu?" At that sudden outburst from the normally timid Hinata, everyone stops and looks at her. Shizune answers, "I don't see why not, but it's an extremely difficult art to master. To lean medical ninjutsu on top of both your clan training in the Gentle Fist and the missions you'll be taking as a member of Team 8, it will take everything you have and more. Are you sure you can handle all of that?" Kurenai adds, She's right, Hinata. It'll be harder than anything you've ever done before, and you aren't obligated to try. I don't care how hard it'll be or how many times I fail. I won't give up. That's my Nindo. I can't just sit around not giving it my all. While Naruto-kun is killing himself training. Not for himself, but for his friends. How would I ever be able to call myself his friend if I did any less than him? I'm tired of people trying to discourage me from applying myself. Kurenai-sensei. Hinata responded with heat in her voice and fire in her eyes. Taken back by Hinata's outburst, Kurenai is stunned silent, unable to do anything but smile at Hinata finally coming out of the shell that so many people, from her father to Niji and her clan members, built around her. Nodding to Shizune, signifying her approval of training Hinata in medical ninjutsu, Shizune simply says, "All right then, Hinata, I'll start your training when we get back, but you had better not regret it, for I won't take it easy on you." "Yes, Shizune-sensei. I'll give you my everything and I won't give up," Hinata yells back in a strong and determined voice. Everyone there just smiles and rush off back to Konoha, while Kiba and Shino do not plan on just standing by and letting their teammates surpass them. They'll throw themselves into their training just as hard as Hinata. Chapter 3. It's been 1 year, 8 months, and 2 weeks since Naruto left Nami, and now he's traveling along the border of Taki with Jiraiya to find the Seven-Tails Jinchuriki named Fu. Fu is a petite, androgynous, tan-skinned kunoichi who wears an orange clip in her short, layered mint green hair that matches her orange eyes. Her outfit consists of a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it. Her forehead protector is worn on her right arm and she carries a cylindrical object in red wrapping on her back. Naruto has changed quite a bit in the past 2 years. His hair has grown down to his shoulders with face-long bangs framing his face, similar to his father's, just a little longer. Thanks to, and with much disgust, Naruto having to eat a more balanced diet of fruits and vegetables, he now stands at 5 feet 6 inches and his build is composed of highly defined and compact muscle, giving him that highly sought-after V-shape. Due to his physical changes and the fact that Jiraiya's nightmare training left his old clothing torn to pieces, even the cloth of his headband had to be replaced. He had to get a new wardrobe. What he wears now is a more form-fitting version of his original outfit with mesh armor underneath, while retaining the swirls and orange pants. The blue pieces of his outfit changed to black and his forehead protector is also longer, the ends going to the middle of his shoulder blades. The most noticeable change to his outfit are the 2 black 6-scroll holders, with the Uzumaki clan symbol on the front of them, strapped from the front of his pants, going along the sides of his upper thighs, ending around the back, connecting above his butt cheeks. In those holsters are 6 scrolls each. The ones on his right are used for holding jutsu, weapons, and sealing arrays that can capture objects in jutsu. The ones on his left are blank, in the event of having to make custom seals for various problems. The holders were a gift from Pervisage, given to him upon completing his advanced sealing jutsu training. He's only recently started making headway in master sealing jutsu training. The training Naruto went through nearly killed him. He was using up to 3,000 clones per training session, allowing him to master a wide variety of jutsu, and the sparring often left him broken and bloody for the first year. But now he can go toe-to-toe with Pervisage at full power, not in Sage mode though. He's no longer having to wear leg weights. The amount of weight the seals could add had been long since maxed out and he no longer felt them, making wearing them redundant. His top speed now is about 3 times what Lee's was without his weights during the Chunin exams, making him as fast as Guy is outside of using the inner gates. He plans on giving his weight set to Konohamaru when he gets back home, and maybe teach him a new jutsu while he's at it. He also mastered all the wind-style techniques Asuma gave him and several more, like Gale Palm, Drilling Air Bullet, and Great Breakthrough, but he also found out that he has an affinity for Earth Chakra, allowing him to learn all sorts of Earth-style techniques from Pervisage like Dark Swamp, Mud Wall, Headhunter, Great Mud River, Rising Stone Pillars, and Earth Dragon Bomb. With his longer hair, Jiraiya taught him his hair jutsu, Art of the Raging Lion Mane, Needle Jizo, and Spike Jizo, though their range is smaller and requires more chakra to use. His Kenjutsu is unique, combining the Kubikirabocho with shadow clones and wind chakra, and it's considered to be at the expert level by Gamatana's standards. The massive blade isn't seen on his back because he keeps it sealed in an array tattooed on his right wrist, only after he became capable of welding it with the ease of a kunai, summoning it out when needed. With the most pride and difficulty, Naruto finally became able to use the Hiraishin, not to the same degree as his father, but still at great level. To be honest, the first few attempts had been disastrous. It was a good thing that Pervy Sage made him use clones at first. For the entire first year of trying to use it, his clones would be torn to pieces, stuck halfway inside trees, rocks, and even each other. Once, one of his clones used the Hiraishin and never returned. He still has no idea what happened to it. Eventually, he was able to teleport to any of his strange-shaped kunai with the unique seal on it. They were given to him on his birthday by Pervy Sage, saying they belonged to his father. He still wasn't fast enough at creating the seal for the Hiraishin. It takes him a full minute to create in combat, but he can use it with pre-made ones in combat. Though he still has difficulty in exiting the Hiraishin and attacking instantaneously like his father could, but it's still combat-ready. Being his usual unorthodox self, he decided to put the Hiraishin seal on the Kubikurabocho, not just to teleport to it, but to teleport it back to him. Again, it was a good thing he used clones at first, for it didn't work at first. But by streaming wind chakra through it, he was able to teleport it to him, spearing the clones most of the time. Like most things he tries, he eventually got it to work the way he wanted it to. All in all, the training from hell was worth it. For nearly the past 2 years, Naruto has been passing messages with all of his friends through toads, allowing him to tell them all about him being a Jinchuriki and about his parents, as well as keeping up on their lives. Kiba liked to rub in that Naruto was now the only one amongst them that was still a genin besides Choji, Ino, and Sakura, but seeing as they are entered the joint Chunin exams being held in Konoha and Suna, they most likely are Chunin now. He even went into how Niji, Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro even went one step further and became Jonin. Shino tends to give him encyclopedic knowledge on insects and asking him if he has ran into any rare species of insects. Choji keeps bringing up the meals Naruto will end up buying him and all of the new foods he has eaten. Shikamaru rarely writes because it's troublesome, and when he does it's always about how troublesome his life is. Ino goes off on all the gossip happening in Konoha and if he'll end up looking as good as the 4th Hokage. Apparently Ino had a crush on the picture his father back in the academy days before Sasuke. Tenten keeps asking for more pictures of the Kubikurabocho and complaining how unfair it is that he has one of the legendary swords of Kiri. Lee is constantly trying to one-up him on their taijutsu training and going on about springtime of youth. Niji doesn't write much with how busy he is as a new Jonin, and Kakashi has told him stories about his father and mother. Irika has told him how he has been going on dates with Shizune whenever they have the time and how he thinks she might be the one. Sakura-chan wrote about her hellish training under Lady Tsunade, from all the complex medical jutsu, to the painful taijutsu training that involved dodging full-powered punches from Tsunade. She went into all of the details of her life, like shopping with Ino, pulling a shift at the hospital, and even the time she cried her eyes out at losing a 6-year-old kid to cancer. He has never been closer to Sakura-chan than he is now, perhaps because he isn't there pestering her for a date and is just talking like friends. With Hinata, they've been writing about their hectic training schedules that take them in many different directions, like how she comes off a mission to go straight into her clan's taijutsu training with Niji, Hanabi, or her father, then having to rush off late at night to train under Shizune in medical ninjutsu. Then once she was good enough at medical ninjutsu, which only happened a few months ago, she had to start taking shifts at the hospital with Sakura and Ino. He had to console Hinata when she lost her first patient, a young shinobi around their age who died from multiple fatal injuries, received on a mission gone horribly wrong. It was harder on her because she couldn't help seeing Naruto in the same condition and being unable to save to him. It took a lot of promises that he wouldn't die and would come to see her as soon as he got back, to get her to stop worrying. Just like with Sakura, he has gotten a lot closer to Hinata, mostly because he finally noticed her. Naruto honestly doesn't know what to do with how he still has strong feelings for Sakura, especially after he came to realize that he just might love Hinata too. Sometimes he wishes he hadn't started getting to know Hinata. It's caused such conflicting emotions. He was even having an equal amount of explicit dreams about Hinata as Sakura now. He made the chemiawful mistake of asking Pervy Sage for advice. He told him that a three-way with the both of them would make great material in his biography. After Naruto's yelling and the perverted laughing by Jiraiya, did he give him the advice to have a serious conversation with them both about his feelings, and whichever one returns those feelings is his answer. The problem with that advice is that Sakura might punch him into the next life, while he knows that Hinata would return his feelings. Both possibilities kinda scare him. He could end up losing his friendship with one or both of them. Jiraiya merely stated that if he's too afraid to risk his friendship with either one, then he'll get neither one. No one has ever fallen in love without being a little brave. That gave him a lot to think about, but he's still on the fence on what to do. As Naruto and Jiraiya continue their journey along Taki to find Fo, who they learned from Taki's leader Shibuki, has been sold out to the Akatsuki by his own village council. They run across a Resent battlefield. There are small craters here and there. Kunai and shuriken are littered everywhere. A strange symbol inside of a circle was on the ground, and the smell of blood still hangs in the air from the two dead Takinin. The scene seemed to suggest that a Taki team was ambushed. That couldn't have happened more than a few hours ago, filling them with the fear that they are too late to save Fo. Naruto finds a torn piece of black clothing with red clouds on it, confirming that it was the Akatsuki. Not waiting for Jiraiya, he runs off after them, following their trail away from Taki. Jiraiya yells out, "Naruto, you idiot! Don't go running into the enemy's hands without knowing what you're dealing with," quickly chasing after Naruto. As Naruto was following the overly obvious and slow-paced trail, he was thinking about how this was exactly what he feared would happen when all of the hidden villages refused to let him give their Jinchuriki a Hiraition seal. It gave it to them so he could instantly come to their rescue, but they were all too paranoid to let him. Hell, Iwagakure even sent assassins after him, once hearing he could use the same jutsu as the yellow flash of Konoha. It was great practice for using his ninjutsu at least, and they stopped sending their shinobi after he and Pervy Sage beat the crap out of them, leaving them hog-tied with a note saying, "Next time we slit their throats." Plus, once Tsunade heard about the attempts on his life by IWA shinobi, she sent a letter of aggression to the Tsuchikage, warning him continued attack on Konoha's Jinchuriki would be considered an act of war, causing him to resend the kill order. Jiraiya had warned him that would happen if he told the other Kages about his ability to use the Hiraition, but he didn't care. He just wanted to keep others burdened with a Biju like him safe from a common enemy. In the end, only Gaara and Suna agreed to Naruto's proposal, but with the stipulation that he add a off switch to the seal, so he will only be allowed to use it when they want him to. Gaara would be able to activate it himself in an emergency, but the Suna Council has a seal tag they can use to counter it, not fully trusting Naruto and maybe even Gaara. At least Taki's leader has told them about Fu being in trouble and has sent them to help her, but he's not too sure what to make of her village's council selling her out. While Naruto was lost in thought, Jiraiya was intensely studying the trail they are following. It's too slow-paced and without any traces of them trying to cover their tracks. There is a very clear trail of blood and their footprints are almost perfectly visible, as if the two sets of footprints were walking. If they had really stolen Taki's Jinchuriki, then they'd be moving away from Taki at a much faster rate. Then there was the battlefield only showing signs of 1 versus 2, and there is no way any village would let their Jinchuriki get that close to the border without a protective detail. The only options that would lead to these events would be 1. Her team was caught off guard and killed, leaving her to fend for herself. 2. She was caught by the Akatsuki while sneaking out of her village with the other two chasing after her. Lastly, she was handed to the Akatsuki by her village as an exchange, sacrificing her and her team. The last one tends to make the most sense. Unfortunately, it's the only way to explain why even after getting into a heated battle with their target and killing two Takinin, they're just leaving in a casual manner, meaning they are not expecting anyone to come after her. Plus, with the secretive way Shibuki passed along that message with a sealed scroll for Fu, there can be no other option. There is no way in hell he'll hand her back to Taki. If they can save her in time from what he believes they are doing to her, extracting her bijou. Having caught up with Naruto, Jiraiya says, "Naruto, we need to hurry, but not so fast that we end up getting caught in a trap. Now slow down and listen to me." Naruto snaps back, "We don't have time to slow down. If we don't hurry, this faux girl will die. Naruto remembered the names of the Jinchuriki Jiraiya knew, Fu, Gaara, and Killer Bee from Kumo. Also what pervy sage thinks the Akatsuki will do to the Jinchuriki once they have them, being told that extracting a bijou is lethal to the host. Jiraiya responds, yes, but the time it takes to extract a bijou can take days. We're not only lucky that we found their battle site still fresh, but that they are moving slowly, not expecting anyone to rescue their hostage. So we can get the jump on them before they can finish or even start. Confused, Naruto asks, why wouldn't they expect a rescue team from Taki? Jiraiya answers, fearing how angry Naruto will get. That's because I believe that Taki handed her over to the Akatsuki in exchange for either their village's safety or a large amount of money and future protection from them. I can't be really sure until I put out some feelers, but that's the only way I can make any sense of this situation. What? What kind of cowardly assholes would sacrifice one of their own like that? Is it just okay because she's a Jinchuriki and her life just doesn't mean as much? The fucking bastard-ass pieces of shit. Naruto roared out in pure fury. Look, Naruto, I said I can't prove it yet, but if it's true then we'll take her to Konoha, away from both the Akatsuki and Taki. Jiraiya said, trying to reel in Naruto's anger. But won't that cause problems for us if Taki demands we return her to them? Naruto asked, still angry but more controlled. Only if they didn't sell her out to the Akatsuki. If they did, they lost all claim to her and we have no responsibility in returning her to them. In the end, it'll be up to her. This all pointless if we fail to save her, so let's table this discussion until then. Jiraiya answered. Refocusing on saving Fu, Naruto pushes his anger aside and falls into pace with Jiraiya. Unnoticed by the both of them, half a plant-looking man is watching them follow his team member's trail, sending the image to his other half inside a cave standing on one of the ghetto statue's fingers aiding in sealing the seven tails. Just like 6 of the others, he's only there in a simmering holographic state, with only 2 of them actually being there. Speaking up, the plant man says in a dark and chilling voice, it seems Haiden and Kakuzu were followed here. Kakuzu calmly asks, really? I thought Taki took our deal to hand over their Jinchuriki in exchange for us not destroying them? Have they betrayed us? Haiden yells out, if they did then Lord Jashin will bathe in their blood. The shimmering image with purple eyes that has a ripple pattern spread over them asks, Zetsu, who are the interlopers? The now identified Zetsu answers, the Nine Tails Jinchuriki and Jiraiya of the Sannin. Well shit, the Nine Tails isn't a problem, but the likes of Jiraiya is a big problem. Replied a tall spiky-haired image with a large wrapped sword on his back said. That's a problem all right, we've only just started sealing the 7 tails and it'll take at least 3 days to finish. The most we can stall with a barrier and sending someone out there with that jutsu is maybe a day and a half at the most. The apparent leader with the weird eyes said. It's all Haiden's fault with his overly long ritual. Kakuzu states. How many times must I tell you that Jashin's rituals can't be skipped? To do so is blasphemy, and for all we know it's your fault. Snaps back Haiden. Perhaps you're both just incompetent fools. Not all that surprising seeing as you both lack artistry. An amused voice said. Shut up, Deidara. Like you know what real art is. An annoyed deep voice said. Of course I know what real art is, Sasori my man. Art is an explosion. The now identified Deidara answered.
Sasori replies, no.
Art is eternal. Enough. No matter who is to blame, it won't solve our current problem. Their leader commands. Zetsu offers up. Perhaps we can try using your Rinnegan to split the 7 tails chakra in Yin and Yang, taking only the Yin half. It'd be twice as fast and it'll allow us to have a complete version of the 7 tails. It's what the 4th Hokage did with the 9 tails, so it should work. Their leader asks, won't it cause us problems if we only have half of the 7 tails? Zetsu answers, no, the 9 tails has shown to have its full power when it was nearly released about 2 years ago. So as long it's a complete version of the 7 tails, it should gain its full strength in time. Then if we kill its current host, the other half should reform sometime with the half we sealed inside the ghetto statue. After a moment of silent contemplation, the leader responds, "All right, I'll split the Seven Tails chakra into Yin and Yang. Then we'll focus on pulling out the Yin half. That should only take about a day and a half, giving us enough time to extract the Seven Tails. Then once we're done, Haiden and Kakuzu will kill its Jinchuriki and escape. If you find the opportunity to capture the Nine Tails in the process, then do, but don't try fighting Jiraiya. You'll not be able to win so soon after having sealed a bijou." Kakuzu responds, "Fine, but who should we send to stall our guests?" The other half of Zetsu, in a lighter tone than its darker half suggests, "Kisame should go, seeing as he has the most chakra amongst us." "Hee, sure sounds like it'll be fun. Plus I owe that old sage for nearly killing me with a wall of flesh," Kisame answered. "Fine, now go and buy as much time as you can." Their leader orders while his eyes glow, and he goes through a series of hand signs, causing Fu to shake violently, before the chakra leaving her mouth into the ghetto's mouth changes to a darker color, but leaving at a faster rate. It takes Jiraiya and Naruto half a day of follow the tracks, moving slowly on the off chance it's a trap, before being suddenly attacked by exploding water sharks, forcing Naruto and Jiraiya to split up. As Jiraiya is still dodging water sharks, Naruto is surprised by a large wrapped blade coming out of the ground like a shark's fin behind him, threatening to slam into him. Quickly he turns around while unsealing the Kubikaribsho from his wrist, grabbing his blade and tightening his stance. He blocks the incoming slash. As he's being pushed back by his larger opponent, he grips the ground with his chakra and starts putting all of his strength into his arms, bringing them both to a stop, swords still clashing, and gets a good look at who's attacking him. A pale blue-skinned man with 6 black markings on his face that appear to be gills, and razor-sharp teeth. He's wearing the Akatsuki black robe with red cloud markings all over it, and a headband with the Kiri symbol that has a scratch going through it. Naruto squints his eyes in thought for a moment, before yelling out, "Hey, you're that fish guy that was traveling with Itachi." Kisame gets a tick mark on his head as he puts more force into his blade and responds, "Yeah, and you're that little nine-tails brat who had to be saved from me." The added force from Kisame has Naruto jump back and release a new attack of his, by channeling massive amounts of wind chakra along the edge of his sword. Then compressing it, he releases it with a downward swing of the Kubikirabocho into a large crescent wind slash. As his wind slash tears through the ground, heading straight for Kisame, Naruto yells out, "Yeah, that was then. And now I can kick your ass all on my own." In response to Naruto's impressive attack, Kisame merely laughs while slashing through Naruto's slash, completely destroying it, says, "Really, if that's all you got, then you might want to go get that toad sage to help you. Otherwise it'll be your ass getting shredded by my Samahata." Shocked that one of his strongest Kenjusta techniques was batted away like it was nothing, Naruto looks closer at Samahata to see it moving under its wrapping, making chewing noises. Then he remembers that it eats chakra, so all chakra-based attacks are useless against him. Damn, his Kenjutsu is not strong enough to beat a Kenjutsu master like Kisame, so he'll have to create an opening to hit him with a powerful Justu when he's not holding Samata if he wants to win. He creates 3 shadow clones and takes out one of the scrolls from his right holder, throwing it into the air while unfurling it, causing dozens of tri-pointed kunai with Hiratian seals on them to shoot out of it, surrounding the area in them. "Well, don't count me out yet," Naruto shouted out while charging Kisame. You sound cocky for someone whose pathetic attempt at hitting me with kunai failed to even touch me," Kisame mocked while raising his blade to block Naruto's basic downward sword strike, planning to counter with a kick to his sternum. Once Naruto's strike lands, slightly buckling Kisame's knees, one of Naruto's clones comes slamming in with a kick to the back of the Kubikaribsho, having been catapulted by the other 2 clones that had jumped in the air. The added force of the clone's full body kick causes Kisame to quickly sidestep away as Naruto's blade splits open the ground. Kisame charges at Naruto's open side, a rookie mistake, but before his Samahata can slam into Naruto, he disappears in an orange flash, reappearing behind Kisame in an instant, But unfortunately Naruto stumbles a bit before he responds with a forward side slash. Only to be batted away by Kisame, who only had time to react due to Naruto's stumble. But before Kisame can re-engage, Naruto teleports again in an orange flash. For the next few minutes, all that can be seen is a series of orange flashes and Kisame blocking, batting away or counter-attacking Naruto's random attacks. Having now figured out that the kunai around him are anchor points for Naruto's Hiraishin, which is surprising that the kid can use it in the first place. Despite his obvious flaw in using it, Kisame makes a made dash out of the field of kunai. Only he is stopped by Naruto appearing in front of him with another downward slice. But this time it's coated in wind chakra, forcing him to block it with his Samahata, devouring the dangerous chakra. Taking the opportunity of having their blades crossed, Kisame alters his body weight and sword angle to allow him to redirect Naruto's blade forward and into the ground, while simultaneously reaching out and grabbing the Kubikaribsho's handle with his right hand and kicking Naruto off it with his right leg. As Naruto goes flying backwards, Kisame stabs the Kubikirabocho into the ground and puts his Samahata on his back, then blurs through hand signs. Water release. Great exploding water colliding wave, Kisame shouts out, causing a large explosion of water to wash away all of Naruto's kunai and slamming into him as he crashes into a tree, flooding the area in water. Not bad, brat, but your kenjutsu is nowhere near mine. The Hiraishin caught me by surprise. It's not a jutsu scene since the yellow flash of Konoha. It's just too bad that you're not nearly as skilled as he was in using it. Plus, you wasted your only shot by trying to best me in kenjutsu. Kisame laughs out victoriously. Kisame's laughter is cut short by Naruto teleporting right in front of him, slamming a giant Rasengan into his chest. Blood spurts out for his mouth and the ground around them breaks as he is repelled off his feet into nearby trees, only stopping after smashing through about 20 of them. What Kisame failed to realize is that Naruto knew he couldn't beat him in kenjutsu and that his Hiraishin is still flawed. So he let him take the Kubikirabocho, that he had a Hiraishin mark hidden inside the removable part of its handle, knowing that he'd then get rid of or get away from his kunai field. Then while Kisame's guard was down from his supposed victory, Naruto used the Hiraishin mark on his blade to land a massive blow that couldn't be blocked by Kisame's annoying chakra-eating blade, and had a large enough attack radius that he could hit him without aiming. In short, it was all a setup to get Kisame to put away his Samahata. Naruto might not be the sharpest kunai around, but no one thinks faster on their feet than him. Picking up his sword and placing it on his shoulders, Naruto yells out, "Did you enjoy the show, Pervy Sage?" Having easily dealt with the water clones launching exploding sharks at him, Jiraiya decided to watch Naruto's fight and gauge his progress. With Naruto's fight clearly finished, Jiraiya lands next to Naruto and says, "Yup, you've really improved, Gaki. I'm proud of you, but let's hold off on the victory party until we've confirmed he has been dealt with and we've rescued the girl." "Yeah, you got a point, Pervy Sage. Let's go," Naruto responded. When they both arrive at Kisame's blood-filled landing spot, they're shocked to find some nondescript individual lying dead in Kisame's place. Same injuries and clothes. No sword though. Naruto asks out, did he use some kind of human substitution? Or maybe this guy was just transformed into the shark guy? Jiraiya takes a minute before answering, "I don't think so. I didn't see him use any substitution techniques in your battle, and transformation techniques aren't that durable. It has to be some kind of forbidden transfer jutsu. The attacks he used and even his kenjutsu form were too perfect to be some mere stand-in." An even more confused Naruto asks, "Then was the shark guy even here in the first place?" An unsure Jiraiya answers, "I can't be sure, but I don't think so. This was most likely just a stalling tactic to slow us down. We must be too close for their comfort. So for now, we need to focus on finding where they're extracting the seven tails." With that in mind, Naruto seals the Kubikirabocho back up in his wrist, while Jiraiya seals up the body of Kisame's doppelganger for Tsunade to examine later and maybe get an explanation on how he's a doppelganger. They then continue picking up the trail they were following, but to their dismay they find it mostly gone. It appears that someone was destroying the trail while they were occupied by Kisame's copy. Fortunately, there are still some traces of it, Whoever was responsible for cleanup must have not had enough time to do a complete job. Thanks to the distraction, the mostly destroyed trail, and having to move with even more caution, it took them another half-day to get to a cave blocked off by a boulder. Fortunately, that means the Akatsuki only had a day to extract the 7 tails, and that's not nearly enough time, so they are not too late. The bad news is that the boulder has a 5-seal barrier placed on it, so they now have to find for other seal tags in the area and remove them, which will most likely be booby-trapped, before they can remove the 5th seal tag on boulder, allowing them access to the cave. Even with Naruto flooding the area in shadow clones to search, it took them nearly 5 hours to find all of the seals. Then another 6 hours to defeat the doppelgangers themselves. Clones were unable to remove them and they had to go themselves. Then they had to make it back to the cave where they rested for an hour to regain their lost chakra. In total, they ended up wasting another 12 hours. Now being able to remove the last seal tag, Naruto has a clone remove the last tag while Jiraiya creates a giant Rasengan to smash through the boulder. Inside the cave with the Akatsuki, the sealing of the 7 tails in chakra just finished at the same moment Naruto and Jiraiya removed the last seal tag. As the other members of the Akatsuki simmered out and Fu is released from the chakra holding her up, falling to the ground, the leader tells Haiden and Kakuzu that they know what to do before disappearing along with the ghetto statue in a puff of smoke. Just as the ghetto statue is gone, an explosion erupts from the entrance of the cave, covering it in dust and debris. When the dust cloud clears, Jiraiya can see 2 men dressed in classic Akatsuki attire. One has medium-length gray hair that's slicked back and distinctive purple eyes, has on dark green nail polish, his Yugikure forehead protector around his neck and Jashin amulet. He's not wearing a shirt under his cloak, has on gray pants with matching shinobi sandals and a triple-bladed scythe on his back. The second one is a very tall tan-skinned man with unusual eyes. Green irises, no pupils and red sclerae. He wears a gray hood covering his hair, a black-colored mask covering his lower face, the Takigakure forehead protector with a scratch in the middle, and gray pants with matching shinobi sandals. The first man, Haiden, takes his scythe off his back and raises it with the intention of killing Fu with it, says, "All right, time to give another life to great Lord Jashin," prepared to slam his scythe down on the unconscious Fu, ending her life. Earth style. Raising stone pillars, Naruto's muffled voice rings out. A series of sharpened stone pillars pierce through Haiden's entire body, stopping him from killing Fu, while Kakuzu merely jumps out of the way. Kakuzu looks at where Fu is, only to see an empty hole in her place, irritably saying, "It seems someone has taken off with the Jinchuriki. I'll kill you, Haiden." Surprising Jiraiya, Haiden responds unaffected by what should be mortal injuries. "Shut up, Kakuzu. I wish I could die and you act as if it's my fault the Jinchuriki got stolen." "It is your fault. You should have just killed the girl right away than prattle on about an offering to a stupid kami." Kakuzu snapped back while smashing Haiden free of the pillars with a black-coated arm. "Ouch. Be gentle. It fucking hurts when you do that. You should respect others' pain and don't speak such blasphemy." Haiden fired back. "Just shut up and go after the Jinchuriki while I hold off the Sannin. And remember not to kill the boy. We still need his bijou," Kakuzu ordered. Haiden merely gives him the finger while jumping through the opening in the cave. Jiraiya tries to intervene, but is stopped by a darkened fist smashing into the ground in front of his path. The appendage is connected by a bunch of black tendrils leading back to Kakuzu's arm. Turning to face his opponent, Jiraiya says, "Well, that's a creepy look you got there. Are you going for monster reject or stitched together reanimated corpse?" Haiden merely chuckles while taking off his cloak and shedding what looks to be 2 masked black tendril monsters. They then fuse together and open their mouths, releasing a fire and wind combined attack that consumes the cave in flames. Naruto is running through the trees with an unconscious Fu in his arms, when he is suddenly surprised by a huge explosion of fire going off back at the cave with Pervy Sage. He's concerned for his master, but he knows he can handle it. And besides, the plan is for him to get away with Fu while Pervy Sage keeps the Akatsuki busy. Jiraiya will escape once he's far enough away that he can't be followed. Naruto is interrupted by a 3-bladed scythe nearly cutting him in half, as he dodges at the last second by leaping to the ground. Looking up, he sees Haydn looking at him with a crazed sneer on his face and the scythe on his shoulders. Surprised the nutjob is still alive after taking his jutsu. Hell, he could still see the holes in his body. Did you really think you could escape from Jashin's divine judgment? Haydn laughed out. Naruto responds by simply creating a clone to hold Fuo while he unseals the Kubikirabocho and takes a stance, then says, I don't care about any kind of Kami's judgment, but if you want her you'll have to get through me first. Haydn starts laughing hysterically before yelling out, all perish before the will of Lord Jashin. He then launches forward with his scythe held above his head by both hands, hellbent on killing his prey, but he bypasses Naruto and goes straight for his clone holding Fu. Her blood will be the first tribute to Lord Jashin. Clank. The sound of metal clashing as Naruto used the Harishin mark he put on Fuo while fleeing with her earlier, to intercept Haydn's attack with his blade. After pushing Haydn back, Naruto yells out, What the hell? Why are going after someone who can't fight back? I'm your opponent, not her. Haydn just starts laughing hysterically again, but even louder than before, lifting his scythe up to his mouth, where one of his 3 blades have some blood on it. Haydn then licks the blood, while making a triangle inside of a circle with his own blood and says, I have cursed you and the ritual shall now begin. His skin has turned pitch black with white outlines appearing as a skeleton over his body.
Je vais doubler.
All the preparations are done. Haydn added. Naruto stands there with a sweat drop going down his head and blood coming from a cut on his cheek. Replies, Whatever you say, weirdo, but you can't beat me no matter how crazy you are. Naruto charges Haydn with his blade drawn to the side, only to fall to the ground in pain as Haydn pulls out a stake and stabs his own right leg. Naruto looks at his right leg from the ground to see it bleeding in the same spot Haydn stabbed himself. Do you now understand Jashin's punishment? Haydn screams out in a sick kind of joy, while stabbing himself in the gut over and over again, avoiding anything vital and vigorously wiggles the stake around, causing Naruto to roar out in agony. Haydn is lost in twisted pleasure of hearing Naruto scream out in pain, thinking about how once he gets his current victim to pass out from pain, they do still need him alive. He'll get to experience the ultimate pain with the girl. To him, there's no greater pleasure than feeling the pain of someone else's death. So lost in his twisted pleasures, Haydn fails to see Naruto go through a series of hand signs, art of the raging lion's mane, to grab Haydn and stop him from causing any more harm to his body. As the lion-shaped hair catches Haydn by surprise, lifting him back off his feet into the air, outside his circle on the ground, Naruto feels the impact of his own attack, and as it feels like he's being wrapped in tight steel wire, the pain suddenly stops. Looking at a cursing Haydn in his grasp, then the circle and back at Haydn, Naruto realizes that whatever jutsu was hurting him ended because Haydn was out of the stupid circle on the ground. With the curse ended, the Nine Tails chakra quickly gets to work healing Naruto's body. Testing to see if he is no longer in danger, Naruto throws a shuriken at Haydn, cutting his ear. When nothing happens to him, Naruto then crushes and pierces Haydn's body with his chakra-infused hair. Haydn screams in pain as all of his bone are shattered and all of his muscles are torn, organs and flesh punctured. Haydn yells out in a mocking tone, Haven't you realized that I'm immortal yet, you fool? I'm blessed by the great Lord Jashin, and he'll punish you for interrupting my ritual to him. Seeing that the crazed lunatic really is immortal, Naruto comes up with a good yet horrendous idea. Shifting his hair to hold Haydn's left arm, then to Haydn's right arm, then down to take his legs, then pulls with all his might. Screams of pain come from Haydn as his flesh can be heard tearing apart, and with one last horrid scream his limbs are torn off from his torso, which falls to the ground with a thump. Haydn's removed limbs are dropped to the ground near his torso as Naruto's hair recedes back to its original size and shape. With a smirk, Naruto says, Yeah, well, you might not be able to die, but as a pile of pieces you won't be doing anything. Now will you, Stumpy? Haydn yells back, It doesn't matter. All I need is my teeth to chew out your throat. No matter how long it takes, I will kill you. While grabbing the Kubikirabocho off the ground, Naruto casually walks over to Haydn's torso and says, I suppose you have a point, so I'll have to take care of that as well. Lifting his blade up, He then brings it down, cutting off Hayden's head.
Ah,
It doesn't matter what you do. I can't die. Fool, Hayden mocks, scratching the side of his head as he leans on the kubikirabocho that he stabbed into the ground, says, I guess you're right. Oh, I know what to do. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 6. All right, 6 pieces of you and 6 spare scrolls. That works out perfectly. Taking out the 6 blank scrolls in his left holder and creating sealing scrolls out of them. He has clones gather Hayden's body parts. Hayden asks while his head is lifted up by his hair. Ouch, it hurts when picking me up by my hair, brat. What the hell are you doing anyways? Oh, I'm just going to seal up your body parts in different scrolls to make sure you can't be put back together, Naruto casually said while finishing off the sealing scrolls. What? You can't do that to me, you little shit. I swear I'll get free and tear you apart. You hear me? Even if it's hundreds of years from now, I'll get out and release a just vengeance on your family, village, friends, everyone you'll ever care about, Hayden yelled out, along with a stream of curses and foul language, until his head was finally sealed away. Putting the now sealed Hayden scrolls back in their slots, Naruto walks over to the downed foe, his clone having dissolved from Hayden's curse, and moves to gently scoops her up into his arms, only to be stopped by a pair of orange eyes looking up at him. It seems Fu had awoken at some point during his fight, if you could call it that. Getting down on his haunches, Naruto asks, Hey, are you okay? Fu cracks out a weak reply, I feel weak, B, but otherwise I am okay. W, who are YYU and WY did YU help me? With a soft smile and gentle voice, Naruto replies, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I helped you because your village leader, Shibuki, told us you were in danger and asked us to save you. Fu asks, why would YU willing to go through all that agony for me and WI would Shibuki send YU? Naruto answers while scratching the right side of his head. So you saw the whole me being cursed thing, huh? Well, how could I not endure it to save you? I mean, it was just some pain. That's not as important as your life. Suddenly getting a blush on her face, Fu tries to hide her face with her hair. She's never had anyone but Shibuki say something like that to her, and he's always been there for her like a father. While this yellow-haired stranger just comes along out of nowhere and saves her from certain death, acting like it's the most natural thing in the world. She's never even had a friend before, being raised in isolation by Shibuki for her own protection. Yet she just met someone who'd risk their life for her. She didn't know how to react. Instead, while trying to avoid looking him in the eyes, responds, that still D doesn't explain why Shibuki W would trust you over a Titakinin to save me. I don't know all of the details, but it seems like there are some traitors in your village who sold you out. Shibuki must have wanted us to help you because he knew we wouldn't hand you over to the Akatsuki. Naruto answered, unsure how she'd handle it. That can't be. Shibuki taught me that loyalty and friendship are the most important things in the world. I know I don't have any friends, but as a kunoichi of Taki, they should still be loyal. Fu snapped at Naruto with as much strength as she could muster. Taking on a saddened look of knowing, Naruto responds, for most people that's very true, Fu, but Jinchuriki like us aren't always looked at as people. Some are too frightened or hate-filled to see us as anything but as the bijou sealed inside of us. That can lead people to do horrible things to us, while thinking they are being loyal to their village. Tears start to fill Fu's eyes as she knows that before Shibuki found her, she was hated by everyone to the point that they tried to kill her. She was hoping that after being taken in by Shibuki and doing great at the Chunin exams, people of Taki wouldn't be afraid of her anymore, that she could finally make friends, but she was wrong. They'll never see her for her, like Shibuki does. She'll always be alone. Then it hits her. Wait, you're a Jinchuriki too. Smiling again at seeing her tears stop, Naruto answers out enthusiastically, Yup, I'm the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox, Naruto Uzumaki, the next Hokage. You know. So that's why Shibuki trusted you? Fu asked. Yeah, I sent a letter a while back asking to meet you and see if you'd let me put a Hiraishin mark on you. That way I could save you if the Akatsuki ever took you, but your village leader said he wouldn't risk your safety by allowing me to just teleport to you at any moment. To be honest, just about all the villages said the same thing about how I could steal their Jinchuriki, so they all said no. Look, I'd like to talk to you some more, but Pervy Sage is battling the other guy and I need to get you to safety first. So will you come with me? Naruto answered. Fu was quiet for a minute before nodding her head silently. Naruto took that as his sign that it was okay to pick her up in his arms, causing Fu to become crimson and looked away embarrassed. Looking back at the direction of Pervy Sage's fight, Naruto whispers out, "You'd better be okay, Pervy Sage," taking off with Fu to their designated rendezvous point, hoping to see him there before having to move on to their next spot. An hour later, back at what used to be a cave, Jiraiya is slightly battered and highly irritated at how after killing this guy 3 times, he still won't stay down. Apparently, each of those masks of his has its own heart with its own chakra network, allowing him to have all elemental affinities and for them to work autonomously from him. So it's more like a 5-on-1 fight than 1-on-1. Man, did he get screwed on opponents. This Kakuzu is an old man who boasted about fighting the first Hokage, meaning he's got to be like 100 and has a lot more experience than he does. Plus, the sick way he keeps alive by ripping out the hearts of his victims while they are still alive really puts Jiraiya on edge. Kakuzu, in the meantime, is worried about being down to 2 hearts. That hasn't happened in a very long time. Realizing that when Pain told them to flee was actually a valid point and not an underestimation of his abilities, he decided that it was time to flee. All the money in the world is not worth his life, so he made the decision a long time ago that no matter how much he was going to make, that he was to flee if he got down to 2 hearts. With his next course of action decided, Kakuzu uses his remaining affinities of water and lightning to unleash a massive wave of electrified water at Jiraiya. Jiraiya simply creates a mud wall and jumps to the top to avoid it, but misses the lightning mask monster landing in his face, unleashing a false darkness jutsu, blinding him temporarily, allowing Kakuzu to escape. Jiraiya contemplates whether or not to go after the weakened Kakuzu, but decides that he needs to meet Naruto at the rendezvous point and secure Fu. Arriving at the rendezvous point a day later, Jiraiya finds Naruto placing a wet towel on Fu's head inside an old abandoned shack, several empty cups of instant ramen laying about. Speaking up, he asks, "How's she doing, Gaki?" Jumping up in surprise, Naruto pulls out a kunai in a defensive posture and yells out, "Damn it, Pervy Sage! You nearly gave me a heart attack. Where the hell have you been?" Raising his hands up, Jiraiya says, "Whoa there, Naruto. Relax. I just got done handling the other Akatsuki member, and he was like a zombie that wouldn't stay down no matter how many times I killed him. He ended up escaping and I could have gone after him, but I was more concerned about you and the girl, so I let him go and came back here. Now, answer my question, is she okay?" Putting his kunai away and breathing a sigh of relief, Naruto answers, "She's really weak, but she's alive and is getting better. We were eating ramen and talking about how our childhoods were alike before she nodded off." Jiraiya responds, "Good, but I'll still check her out for myself." "Why, Pervy Sage? She's alive. Isn't that good enough?" Naruto asked. Jiraiya answers, "Yes, that's good. But the fact that those guys were trying to kill her makes me think they must have already extracted the bijou. Otherwise, they would have focused on capturing her instead. But if the bijou was already extracted, they wouldn't need to kill her, she'd have already died. I need to find out what they did to her if I want any answers." Naruto replies, "All right, but what do you hope to find?" Jiraiya answers while unsealing some equipment to analyze Fu's seal, "I don't know. I'll tell you if I find something. In the meantime, you can fill me in on what happened with that crazed scythe guy." Naruto just sits down while Jiraiya works and tells him what happened after they separated. 2 hours pass as the light in the shack dims. Night has fallen with little to no noise coming from inside. The door suddenly opens as Jiraiya and Naruto walk out of the shack, leaving Fu to rest while they talk. Naruto asks, "So did you find anything, Pervy Sage?" Jiraiya answers, "Yes and no. Her seal, while weakened, is still intact and her bijou is still there. but it appears as if the strain on her seal from the biju's chakra pushing against it has shrunk by half. I noticed this while reinforcing her seal. I think the Akatsuki split her biju in half like your father did, by separating its yin and yang chakra. If so, they already have a complete version of the seven tails, and that's why they were going to kill her, so that the other half would reunite with the half they sealed away. Naruto then asks, does that mean they won't target her anymore? No, not necessarily. The Akatsuki will most likely try to kill her when given the chance, but she'll be a low priority. If their goal is to collect all the biju, then they'll focus on the ones they don't have, like you. Jiraiya answered. Alright, what do we do with Fu now? I don't like the idea of sending her back to Taki where traders are waiting to sell her out again, Naruto asked. Well, it's not up to us. Fu will have to decide for herself what she wants to do. Plus, we still have to wait for her to wake up and unseal the scroll I received from Shibuki. It might have crucial information on this entire situation and might help Fu make a decision. Jiraiya answered. Then let me open it and take a look. A feminine and somewhat weak voice let out. Turning to the voice, Jiraiya and Naruto see Fu standing at the doorway of the shack, leaning on the door's frame to stay up. Naruto quickly runs over to her, taking the place of the door frame by letting her lean on him, causing Fu to blush and Jiraiya to silently chuckle to himself. Naruto says, Fu, be careful, you're still recovering. You should still be in bed resting. A little flustered, Fu responds, I'm fine. I want to see what Shibuki-sensei left for me. I'll rest afterwards. I promise, Naruto. Naruto caves with a sigh and says, fine, but you'll do it inside while sitting down. I don't want you falling down from shock or something. Ok Fu. As Fu gives Naruto a small smile and a nod, Jiraiya playfully says, wow, Naruto, you haven't even been on your first date together, yet you're already so protective. Oh, young love, what a splendid thing. Ah. That causes both Fu and Naruto to go crimson in the face and Naruto to yell out, damn it, pervy sage. It's not like that. I'm just worried about her health. She did just have half her biju stolen. Can't you be a pervert later? That just makes Jiraiya laugh even harder and Naruto to pout. But Fu is shocked and asks, wait, what do you mean half of my biju has been stolen? What happened to me? She's starting to hyperventilate. Jiraiya immediately stops laughing, wiping the tears from his eyes, responds in a calming voice, relax, Fu. Let's go inside and we'll tell you everything, and you can see what Shibuki left you in this scroll. Taking several deep breaths, Fu calms down and allows Naruto to help her inside with Jiraiya following after them. Jiraiya then goes into a detailed explanation of what he knows and believed happened to her. After a few minutes of Fu silently thinking about what she has been told, and shedding some tears over her team member's death, she asks for the scroll Shibuki gave them. With a hand seal, she releases the seal on it and opens it up to reveal a storage seal. Biting her thumb to draw some blood, she then presses her hand down on it while channeling some chakra, causing a puff of smoke to appear. When the smoke dissipates, it reveals several items, a pile of clothes like what she has on now, some underwear and pajamas, a stack of around 20 million ryo, some food supplies, extra ninja tools, and another scroll containing a personal letter to her. The letter reads, Fu, if you're reading this, then thankfully Lord Jiraiya and Naruto Uzumaki were able to save you from the Akatsuki. I want you to know that I love you with all my heart. You are like the daughter that I never had, and I'm so proud of the young woman you've become. I know you'll do great things. As for the two who saved you, you can trust them. They'll keep you safe because I can't any longer. The council went behind my back and made a deal with the Akatsuki to hand you over in exchange for Taki's safety. One of their members is a rouge shinobi from our village named Kakuzu. He left over 70 years ago, so we didn't think he'd be a problem after all this time. We were wrong. With his knowledge of how to find our village and our village's decline in strength, the Akatsuki would have destroyed us. I know that's no excuse for them betraying you, and I was furious when I found out, but I can't stop them for I don't have the power to protect our village from them. I'm sorry for that. So once I heard about what they did, I prepared the scroll for you and sent word to Lord Jiraiya through one of his hidden spies to save you and deliver this scroll to you. Looking back now, I wish I had taken young Naruto's offer, but I was just too protective of you to allow the risk of him taking you away from me. To be honest, I might have been wrong in keeping you isolated the way I did, but I just wanted you to be safe, even if it meant being lonely, and now I need to ask more of you. I need you abandon Taki and go to Konoha for protection. You'll be seen as a traitor who switched sides to become a Konohanin, but you don't have any other option. The council has already prepared a story for the possibility of your return. They have already blamed the deaths of your 2 escorts on you and have written you off as a rouge shinobi. If you returned now, you'd be captured and have the 7 tails removed from you, so you can never return. We'll never see each other again. I hope and pray that you can find happiness and friendship in your new life. Never forget that I'll always love you, Fu, and goodbye. Throughout reading the letter from Shibuki, the closest thing to a father she ever had, she was in tears, shaking uncontrollably. By the time she finishes, she is filled with a swirling storm of emotions, unable to process the rage, pain, betrayal, and hopelessness in her. Added with the exhaustion of her ordeal, she passes out. Fu wakes up the next afternoon, having slept nearly 16 hours, ready to discuss what she plans to do now that she can't return home. She let Naruto and Jiraiya read Shibuki's letter to spare herself having to explain everything to them. After reading it, Jiraiya then asks, "Well then, do you want to join Konoha? Because you don't have to. You can always try going at it alone or even joining another village." Fu answers, "Yes, I would like to join Konoha. My most precious person told me that it's what I should do. Shibuki-sensei has never done wrong by me before. Why would he now? Besides, I don't think I'd make it on my own for long with the Akatsuki after me, and it wasn't another village that came to my rescue, so I have even less of a reason to trust them over Konoha." Naruto happily says, "That's great, Fu. I can't wait to introduce you to my friends, Bachan, Irika-sensei, and Dash." Getting cut off by Jiraiya. "Whoa now, don't get ahead of yourself just yet, Naruto. Tsunade will have to agree to take Fu in as new member of Konohanin, and then so does the majority of the Jonin Council. They'll have to take into consideration that Fu could be a ploy to unleash the 7 tails on Konoha, or even acting as a spy for Taki, before they decide to take her in. It'll take some time and we'll have no idea what they'll decide until then, so be patient." Naruto asks with worry in his voice, "Then what's Fu supposed to do until then?" Jiraiya answers, "That's simple, Naruto. She can just stay with us while we finish your training. You still have about 5 months left. That should be more than enough time for Tsunade and the Jonin Council to come to a decision, if that's okay with you, Fu." Fu answers with a smile, "Yeah, that sounds good to me. I don't mind spending more time with Naruto, and besides, what other choice do I have?" It really did sound good to her. She seems to have finally made her first friend in Naruto. Getting to spend 5 months with him will help her build on that friendship and hopefully get to know him better. "All right, I'll finally have someone else to talk to than Pervy Sage. I'm getting tired of having to listen to all his perverted stories." Naruto excitedly shouted before giving Fu a big hug in appreciation. While Fu nearly collapses from suddenly being hugged by Naruto, her body still being overly exhausted from half her bijou being extracted. Jiraiya just shakes his head at Naruto's overabundance of energy, nearly hurting the obviously worn-out girl. Shifting his focus as Naruto finally realizes his mistake and is apologizing to Fu, Jiraiya gets to work on sending out a report to Tsunade. He'll fill her in on all that happened and how she's going to have to convince the council to take in Fu. Plus, he's going to send the corpse of Kisame's body double and the scrolls containing the immortal Haiden to gain intelligence on the Akatsuki and see if she can figure out how to kill him. Jiraiya doesn't envy Tsunade with all the work and problems he's sending her. Though to help out the Fu problem, he'll send her all the information he has on her situation, including the scroll that was handwritten by Taki's leader stating that she was set up and discarded by Taki's council. His bigger concern is that he knows that Danzo is going to try and get the council to take in Fu, so that her bijou can be extracted and sealed inside a loyal Konoha shinobi, but he trusts Tsunade to keep that from happening. All that he knows for sure is that the next 5 months will be interesting, to say the least. Maybe he'll get some good material for his books through Fu and Naruto. Jiraiya starts giggling pervertedly to himself as Naruto and Fu feel chills run up their spines. The first 2 months with Fu had been rather fun for Naruto. He had someone new to spar with and he nearly geeked out on Fu's awesome wings, wishing the fox gave him something cool like that. Then there's how Fu's as excited and hyper as he is, meaning they tend to understand one another with little to no difficulty. Plus, she a total tomboy. She's not afraid to get down and dirty with fighting or pranking Pervy Sage, or even each other. One time Fu actually helped him get Pervy Sage drunk and trick him into going into a cross-dressing bar once. He nearly peed himself from laughing so hard while watching Pervy Sage dancing with a dude in drag, and run away screaming about how he felt something poking against his hip. On top of all of that, he could really relate with her pain at being a Jinchuriki, the loneliness of isolation they both experienced. Sometimes he'd find out that they ended up talking the day away without realizing it until night fell. He also learned that Fu actually ended up saving some of his friends during the Chunin exams she was coming from before being captured by the Akatsuki. She saved Ino, Choji, and Sakura from a giant scorpion that had captured them. He was on pins and needles when she went on about the guy trying to extract Gaara's bijou, then her own, only stopping him by stalling him with a cocoon to protect herself. Fu also enjoyed his stories from the Chunin exams, all the way to getting his Kubikurabocho in Nami. They both shared a cry over his story about Haku and Zabuza, and how even though they were his enemies, he learned what it meant to have real strength and to carve out his own path of the shinobi from them. She was even supportive of his desire to bring back his friend Sasuke and even offered to help him do it. He honestly never been this close to any one of his other friends, not even Sakura-chan. Fu couldn't believe how happy she was to finally have a friend like Naruto. She always dreamed what it would be like, but never thought it'd be this great. He just seemed to get her, like they had always known each other. When they shared stories, she couldn't help but see the similarities between them. They both had been hated by everyone and grew up alone, wishing just to be seen and accepted for who they are. She was also inspired by how Naruto was able to make so many friends and find a path all his own. She didn't like how he had this big crush on Sakura, a girl she saved during the exams. Fu feels like Sakura is abusing Naruto's love for her to get him to do whatever she wants. Having finally experienced what having friend is like, she can't stand that someone would exploit one for their own gains. If Sakura doesn't love Naruto, then she should clearly explain it to him, not using it to get her crush Sasuke back at Naruto's expense. To be honest, Fu still has these warm feelings about Naruto that she couldn't quite understand. It was like she couldn't stand being away from him without missing the warmth he seemed to radiate all the time. She even went to Jiraiya to ask him about it, if he could help her understand these unfamiliar feelings growing inside her. He said that it meant she's attracted to Naruto, but not necessarily in the romantic sense. That in many ways, Naruto just seems to give off this aura that attracts people to his side. Though she could be physically attracted to him as well, but that's for her to figure out. After laughing pervertedly, he gave her copies of his Make-Out series, saying they'd help give her a clue about what romantic feelings are, and if that's what she feels towards Naruto. After reading the first two, she had to admit that they did help, but they also started to give her vivid dreams of her and Naruto doing similar things as what was done in those books. It's making it hard not to blush when looking at him, and sometimes she peeks on him in the bath. Oh, Cammy. She's turning into a female Jiraiya. While not as bad as him, she only cares to peek on Naruto and sometimes gazes at other women when she bathes. What? She's curious about how her figure stacks up to other women. There is no crime in that. Fu never really thought about her appearance before now, but she really wants to know if Naruto see her as beautiful. But how to go about it? Then, as several plots in the Make-Out stories point out, yes, there is a plot outside all the sex. Just because she finds him physically attractive and even wants to have sex with him, that doesn't mean she is in love with him. It was around the 4th month with Fu that Naruto started to realize that Fu was attracted to him, from the supposed accidental gropes during their spars, to the way she tends to touch him in an excessive amounts. Once he swore that he saw her peeking on him in the bath. To be honest, he was attracted to her too, enjoying the way her breasts felt when she'd press them up against him every chance she got, to how she come out the bath in just a skimpy towel. He just didn't know what to do. Even though he feels a deep connection to Fu, he still hasn't figured out his developing feelings for Hinata and his long-time crush Sakura. It's not like he can have all three. He's not a super pervert like Jiraiya or a character in one of his perverted stories. Besides, just because she's beautiful and he's fantasized about sleeping with her, doesn't mean her loves Fu. Though he really enjoys spending time with her, she just doesn't make him feel that extra warmth in his soul that he gets when reading the responses from Hinata and Sakura. Desperate to figure out what to do, Naruto asked Pervy Sage for advice, against his better judgment. Which seemed right when Jiraiya just told him to try for a harem and started laughing pervertedly. After getting his fill of chuckles and Naruto cursing him out, Jiraiya eventually told him to explore his feels for Fu by taking her out on a date. That when put in a romantic setting, he'll be able to see if his heart and mind are solely focused on Fu or someone else. If all he can think about is Fu, then he should go for it and start dating her. But if not, then he should upfront about his feelings and try to break it to her easily. So Naruto decided to lay all of his cards on the table with Fu and be prepared to take a beating from her if need be. He figured that he'd take Fu out to the festival going on in the town they're staying in. Then once they are alone and had their fill of the festivities, hopefully he'd have his answer and not break Fu's heart. Fu was absolutely overcome with joy. Naruto surprised her by buying her a green yukata with an orange obi and himself an orange yukata with a green obi, then asked her out on a date to the festival. Finally, all her efforts to get Naruto's attention paid off, and if everything goes right, she'll know how she really feels about Naruto, possibly going from having her first friend to having her first boyfriend. Fu came to realize that her feeling for Naruto go much deeper than she originally thought when a month ago, word came back from Konoha that she was accepted as an official Konohanin. When it came time to put on her new forehead protector, she couldn't do it. She broke down crying about how her old one meant so much more to her, and to have to throw it away like garbage was impossible for her to do. Jiraiya had to explain that it was a necessary part of becoming a Konohanin, and that her old one was just a metal plate from a village that betrayed her. Naruto, on the other hand, had taken her old forehead protector, flipped the metal piece over and engraved the other side with the leaf symbol of Konoha. All that calligraphy came in handy, making it look professionally done. Handing it back to her, he said that just like his forehead protector, hers carries a weight of success built on effort and is an irreplaceable gift from her most precious person. That this way she'll still carry her past, but be able to move forward with the future Shibuki gifted her with. At that moment, Naruto showed her that he cared about her and knew exactly how she felt. How could she not start falling in love with him? That's the only real question. The festival was great. Naruto and Fu hit just about every stand, playing and winning every game. They got so many prizes that even after giving a lot away, Naruto was forced to seal away the rest. Then there was all the food they ate, from sashimi to yakitori, and takoyaki to taiyaki. They felt like they were going to burst. Naruto ended up burping mid-sentence and started to apologize, only to be stopped by Fu burping even louder. They actually end up having a burping contest right there. Others even joined in, mostly guys. But in the end, Fu won with a huge belch lasting 2 whole minutes. Call him weird, but there is nothing cooler than a girl who not only doesn't mind him burping, but actually outdoes him. After hours of fun, Naruto and Fu are sitting on a hill overlooking the festival, completely isolated from everyone. Fu leaning into Naruto's right side, her head resting on his shoulder, his right arm wrapped around her. The fireworks have just started lighting up the dark sky as they both enjoy the warmth of each other's presence. The moment feels as romantic as it can get for the both of them at this moment in time. But there's a major problem for Naruto as holds Fu tighter. He's thinking about someone else. Feeling Naruto's grip tighten on her, Fu makes her move. She looks up at Naruto and calls out his name in a soft and sensual voice, getting him to look down at her blushing face. Moving closer to each other, their faces inching forward, their eyes hooded and filled with want, Fu bridges the gap, sealing her lips with his. It's a tender first kiss, each one taking their time enjoying the feeling of the other's lips. Naruto's hands move to Fu's hips, while she shifts into his lap, her knees on either side of him, and snakes her arms around his neck. Pulling back, ending their kiss, to catch their breath, Naruto is surprised when Fu suddenly tightens her grip on him and smashes her lips to his. This kiss isn't tender. It's filled with burning passion and lust, trying to open his mouth to speak. Fu's tongue slips inside, exploring every inch of his mouth. Not sure what to do, having never been in a situation like this before, Naruto just lets her explore until his tongue starts pushing back. The tongue fight ends with Naruto's tongue making it into Fu's mouth, exploring it just as thoroughly as Fu did his. After several minutes of this, desperately needing air, they both pull back with a string of saliva connecting them, breaking as they catch their breath. Naruto can feel Fu's moistening hot panty-covered mound grind against his hardening erection, causing them both to moan. Fu is elated that Naruto clearly finds her attractive, if the impressive bulge pressing against her core is any indicator, but feels somewhat off. Her body is telling her to keep going, yet her heart isn't quite as sure. Meanwhile, Naruto knows that this wrong because it wasn't Fu that on his mind while they were making out. Instead of seeing her orange eyes peering into him, he saw featureless lavender eyes. Stopping things from going any further, Naruto breathlessly yells out, "Wait, this is wrong. We need to stop Fu." A bit uncertain herself, Fu pulls back and asks, "Why? Do you not find me attractive?" Some of her insecurities popping up. Naruto quickly replies, "No, of course not. You're beautiful, Fu. It's just that something feels off." Fu cuts in. Naruto asks, "You felt it too?" Fu reluctantly nods her before replying, "It feels good being with you. From all the fun we've been having and to being on top of you, kissing and grinding. My body's hot for you and yours is for mine." Emphasizing that point by grinding into his erection. Moaning himself, Naruto tries stifling it as Fu continues. "But my heart, my soul don't feel the same way. Why? I know I want you but I can't." Lowering her head to rest on his shoulder, lost in what to do, Naruto closes his eyes and takes a deep breath, relieved that it's not just him, opens his eyes and says, "I really do like you, Fu, and my body feels the same way. I've never had a friend that I've gotten this close to before. I can't see my life without you in it. But I still have these feelings for Sakura-chan and Hinata-chan. Back when I started my training trip 2 years ago, Pervy Sage said something to me that had me doubt my love for Sakura-chan. Then only a few weeks later Hinata comes and drops a bomb on me about how she feels about me. I was at a loss at what to do, so I just pushed it to the side and threw myself into my training." Taking a second to reflect, he continues, "Then over these last 2 years I have been talking with both Sakura-chan and Hinata-chan through messages, finding out that the feelings I tried to ignore were stronger than ever. With Sakura, I got to know her in a way I couldn't before, falling for her all over again. Yet I know that it's only because I've stopped trying to be with Sakura that way. Just being her friend has brought me so much untold joy that I now know that we're better off just being friends. Even though there will always be a part of me that still loves her." Fu looks up from his shoulder to see a look of sorrow cross his faces, hurting even her heart as she sees the depths of pain in Naruto's eyes. Taking another deep breath, Naruto continues, "Then with Hinata, I got to see her for the first time, and over the past 2 years I got closer to her than I ever thought I would, finding out that I have feelings for her too. At first I didn't know what to do with these feelings. But then I learned that she, in her own endearing way, told me that she loved me. And in that moment of realization, I came to love her too." A bright smile gracing his face, replacing the pained eyes from before with warmth and joy. "Then I got that fateful message asking me and Pervy Sage to save you from the Akatsuki. At first all I thought about you was that you're someone like me, burdened with a bijou, and I had to save you from the same fate that awaits all of us Jinchuriki. But over these past 4 months, I've come to have one of the best friendships I've ever had, to the point that I developed feels for you and started noticing how beautiful you are." Fu blushes but still asks with a sorrow-filled voice, "You don't love me, do you?"
Naruto answers, "No."
"I don't love you that way. I thought maybe I did, which is why I asked you out, but when we were sitting here enjoying the fireworks, I was thinking about Hinata. Even to the point that after we kissed and I looked into your eyes, All I saw was her gazing back at me. It doesn't take a genius to know what that means. And I don't think you love me either. That's why you feel that you can't do what our bodies want. Fu places her head back into Naruto's shoulder and responds, "Why, you're right. I really like you a lot. No one's ever made my laugh as hard as you have, and I definitely love your body. The way your rippling muscles and tight ass glisten as the steaming water pours over you gets me wet. But I don't feel that warm sensation flooding my heart that Shibuki-sensei said I should feel when I find the one I love. How when I meet the man I'd one day marry, I'd end up loving him even more than I do Shibuki-sensei. And I don't love you more than the man that raised me." Naruto looks at Fu's face, glad to see that she feels the same way he does, but can't help but focus on just one thought, getting him to accuse with a heated face, "You have been peeking on me in the bath." Fu lamely explains, "What? I got curious about sex and wanted to take a peek at what a naked man looked like." Naruto slaps his palm to his face as he groans out, "Oh sweet Kami, you're becoming as perverted a pervy sage. What's next? Collecting his perverted books and walking around in public while reading them." Somewhere in Konoha, Kakashi sneezes while rereading one of his favorite make-out volumes, wondering who's talking about him. Fu chuckles lightly before responding with a full blush. "Well, I actually got interested in sex by reading Jiraiya's books, that I love by the way, so don't insult them. It's not like I can control that I'm attracted to you physically and wanted to see what you were packing." Seeing that Fu was being completely honest with him, Naruto says, "I should have known pervy sage was somehow involved in your newfound peeking habits. Alright, I get it and I fully accept you for who you are, no matter how pervertedly weird you may be. But don't expect other people to be as accepting as I am about it. And please stop peeking on me in the bath." Fu replies without an ounce of shame, "No promises, Naruto. I enjoy it too much just to stop now." Naruto once again groans out in frustration, before saying, "We're losing focus here. Let's get back to the whole not loving each other thing." Though he couldn't hide the blush on his face, the thought of Fu wanting to peek on him is actually very flattering to him, but he doesn't want her to know that. Fu then starts grinding herself into Naruto's newly hardening erection. It seems to me that you like me peeking on you." Naruto's face has turned crimson as he stutters out, Will you stop that Fu? We need T to be a serious H here and not think A about sex." Fu pouts but still doesn't get off his lap and grinds a little harder. "Why? Just because we're not in love doesn't mean we can't have some adult fun." Her voice becoming sensual. As Fu's hands lock around the back of Naruto's neck, Naruto is having a hard time not feeling the hot moist mound grinding down on his ever-hardening length. His heart is pounding and this breath picks up as he sees Fu's lust-filled eyes, unable not to picture and want what could happen. Using all his willpower, Naruto grabs Fu by the shoulders, getting her to stop grinding and off his lap. "Stop! Life isn't like those books, Fu. We don't love each other and our first time should be with someone we love, right?" Fu's replies in a smooth voice, "I know life isn't like those masterful books, but I know for a fact that sex isn't always about love. People have always had sex just for the fun of it. Several women I've talked to about it in the bathhouses told me that it's great to be with someone you love, but you never know how long it can take to find that special person. There's nothing wrong in enjoying yourself until you find him. We all get lonely from time to time and have urges that need to be scratched." Naruto tries to fight back. "But we only get one first time and I want it to be with someone I love. Don't you want that too?" Fu's head drops as her voice becomes solemn. "I nearly died a few months ago and I didn't even have a single friend. You saved me, which does play a large part why I'm attracted to you, and gave me a new lease on life. I'm not going to let anything keep me from living to the fullest. You have found that person you love and I know you want her over me, but I don't know how long it'll take me to find my love. With the Akatsuki out there looking to kill me and the very nature of your lives as shinobi, I could be killed before then." Naruto tries comforting her. "I won't let you die. I promise you that you'll live to find that special guy one day." Fu fires back with a melancholy. "You can't know that for sure, Naruto. I know you will, Fu. You're an amazing person that any guy would be lucky to be with. Stop, please. Just listen to me, Naruto. I know you'll give everything you have to keep your word, but life can be cruel and unfair. I don't want to die with any regrets. I know that if my first time is with you and even if I died the very next moment, I'd not have any regrets about it. Naruto looks into Fu's sad, need-filled eyes. He replies, Fu, I can't betray Hinata like that. Fu quickly responds with desperation. You aren't together yet. Please, just for tonight, let me know what it feels like to be loved. To feel like everything the world is right and things finally make sense again. Naruto's mind is running as fast as a lightning jutsu as he thinks about everything she said. He's been told his entire life that sex should be with someone you love, but he's seen, thanks to Pervy Sage, that that's not true. But his heart is telling him who he really wants to be with and how he wants that to be forever. And what's more, he can tell something is very wrong with Fu. Naruto finally speaks up. I'm sorry, Fu, but she's already told me that she loves me. To then turn around and sleep with someone else would be a betrayal, and I won't do that to any of my friends. Not Hinata, not Sakura, not Sasuke, and not you. Fu replies in a tone equal parts pain and rage. How would that be betraying me? You'd be giving me what I want. Naruto yells back. Because it's not what you really want. You're trying to run away from the pain in your life by doing something that can't be undone. Sex with me would just be an escape. Stop being afraid of the terrible things that might happen and start living for the good things that can happen. Fu's rage die on her tongue, yet she still tries. I'm not afraid of living, I. She slowly starts sobbing as the dam breaks. Naruto pulls her into huge as he gently soothes her. Your entire world just got thrown on its head, and you're desperately trying to figure out where up is. Putting on a strong front, pretending that everything is fine when all you really want to do is cry and curse out the world. I know because I've wanted to do the same thing many times in my life. He should have noticed this sooner. Fu just seemed too fine and happy about everything. Yet, how could anyone be okay after losing everything they had and being forced to start over? He knows he'd be a wreck if he was betrayed by Konoha and forced to leave behind all his precious people. Just as he would have turned to his comfort of training during the bad times, Fu turned to the only good thing around her, namely him. Then, thanks to Pervy Sage's books and those matured women's advice on sex, she went to being his friend to trying to have sex with him to start feeling good. Fu sobs out. With my home turning on me, forcing me to leave behind Shibuki-sensei, the closest person to family I've ever had. I just don't know what to do anymore. Why did this all have to happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? Naruto pulls her a little tighter to him, stroking her hair as he replies softly. Nothing. No one deserves that to happen to them. Especially not you. I know this might sound hollow to you, but you have to try and move forward with your life. There's plenty of good things and people waiting out there for you. So long as you have the courage and strength to take that big first step out into the world. What if I can't do it? You can. I know you can. How can you know that? Fu snaps back with tears spilling from her eyes. Because you have me right here, ready to help you. His voice radiating warmth and strength. Giving her a moment to sob/hiccup, he continues. And not just me, but Pervy Sage too, for whatever having that old perv around is worth. That got Fu to chuckle softly. Hey now, I actually like his perverted ways. They make him fun and bring a great quality to his books. Naruto laughs/scoffs. Really? They seem boring to me, and sometimes he goes way too far with his so-called research. Fu responds somewhat defensively/humorously. Yes, his books are that good, but a guy like you who'd pass up sleeping with a babe like me is just too dense to understand them. Besides, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of peeping every now and again. Hey, I'm not dense. I just didn't want to take advantage of you. And there is plenty wrong with peeping on people. Feeling a little bit insulted. Fu innocently replies. Really? I thought I was the one trying to take advantage of you. Her index finger pressing into her cheek as she puts on a thinking posture. That time they both break off into laughter, just as the fireworks display goes into its final bursts, lighting up the sky in large series of colorful explosions, capturing both their attention for a few minutes. As the display comes to a close, Naruto says, "Even though he can't be with you anymore, I know Shibuki will always be with you, no matter where you go or what you do with your life, because he is the sun inside you that brightened up life and gave you hope for a better tomorrow, like Irika-sensei is for me." Fu places her hand over her heart as she thinks about Shibuki, remembering all the times he's helped her and made happy. From all the advice on being the very best kunoichi she can be, to all the gifts and words of kindness he'd give her. Even though she grew up lonely and without friends, despised by the village even, but thanks to her sensei she always had a father and place to call home. As tears of joy and sadness pour down her face, knowing how loved she was and how she will no longer have him in her life, she can at least take solace in the fact that he'll always be a part of who she is. Thank you, Naruto. I almost fell into that dark place inside myself, ignoring what made me who I am and the people that helped me get here. I won't hide from world anymore with half-hearted smiles and desire. A smile gracing Fu's face as she turns towards Naruto. Naruto returns her smile with his own signature grin. It's good to see you're not lying to yourself anymore. Now we can go back to being friends and you'll stop peeping like pervy sage. Chuckling at the end, Fu replies in a dumbfounded tone. Stop peeping? Whoever said that? I've discovered the woman inside myself and my attraction to the opposite sex. Why would I stop looking at the beauty that is the naked form? I certainly enjoyed gazing at your beautiful body. Oh, and by the way, that's a large package you're sporting, hot stuff. Eyeing Naruto up and down, visualizing his naked body. Naruto goes bright red from embarrassment as he yells back, "Will you stop that? I thought you said you weren't going hide in desire anymore." Fu starts giggling. Just because I'm not going to hide in it doesn't mean I'm not going to indulge in my desires every now and again. I'll save my first real sexual encounter for that special person, but I'll still play around bit when I can. And you happen to be the nearest and best little fantasy I can have. There's no crime in looking and teasing a fine specimen of my desire. Raising her hands into a squeezing motion while giggling in a way that closely resembles Jiraiya's own perverted laughter. Naruto starts running for the hills as a pervertly laughing Fu chases after, blurting out, "Come on, Naruto, just one squeeze of those buns of steel." "Never, you female copy of pervy sage." Protecting his butt by putting his hands in front of them as he picks up speed, Fu hot on his tail. Though, from the grins on their faces and the laughter leaving their mouths, it's all in good fun. This day will later become the day that never almost happened. Jiraiya was watching from afar with his telescope, somewhat disappointed that they didn't help inspire his writing by having sex, but glad to see Fu finally coming out of her cocoon of denial. Despite what people might think about his perverted ways, he's still sharp enough to see what's really bothering someone and cares enough to help them. He knew as soon as Fu started asking about her attraction to Naruto that she was avoiding the real issue that was eating away at her. It's actually why he gave her copies of his makeout series. Not for the sex, which there is plenty of, but the undertones of pain and remorse that the main character hides through his sexual escapades. Jiraiya wanted Fu to recognize that she was starting to do the same thing as his character, and to be honest, he himself does, to escape the depressing times of his life. He even pushed Naruto towards going out with her to help point out that fact to her. He believed that Naruto would notice it and confront it as he's always done, helping Fu get to the root of her problems. Because, despite the kid's seemingly dense nature at times, he's surprisingly intuitive about the pain and suffering of others. Folding up his telescope, Jiraiya stands back up from his crouched position with a grin on his face. He might not have gotten the naughtier ending he was looking forward to, but Fu is in a better place and may just make an excellent disciple in the way of the super pervert.